Hello, hello again, and welcome back to another video version of my Substack essays. Again, another live edition. Oh no, my audio on my phone is on. There we go. Fix that. Hello, everybody who's here to catch the recording live, and hello to the people in the future watching this recording on YouTube. I got a really positive response on people enjoying the live stream format, including people who watched the VOD, even though the VOD had some glitches and errors. So I'm really thankful for that. Really grateful to hear that. Why is this still playing? There we go. I'll mute myself. Ugh, sorry if that sounded weird. Um, so that has been a really great discovery because I think it does really enrich the conversation quite a bit to have people, especially all my pissies, all my Pisscord homies. I'm giving a fandom name. Parasociality risk alert. Somebody trank me. Um, but like we do have like a nice group of people who come to these streams who know one another well enough from interacting on the Discord, who share tips about chronic illness stuff, about medical self-advocacy, trans stuff, just ranting about discourse that we hate. Like y'all are like so smart and cool and enrich conversations so much. So having these pieces of mine be read aloud live with people sharing their own contributions and getting a chance to dive into the comments just really improves matters. I think. I enjoy it, and it seems like viewers enjoyed it too. So I'm gonna try and make this a regular habit. Hello, Chicago. This shirt is a Vera Wang. Ooh, Wang shirt. I'm sure it's like, was probably originally very cheap Vera Wang, like Nordstrom Vera Wang or something like that. But I got it at a thrift store, baby. It's probably like my most cool designer. I don't have designer shit. Like the name brands I have are like a few uh Doc Martens. You know what I mean? Like I do not have brand name stuff. I do not have designer stuff. But when I saw this shirt, I was like, oh my god, Vera Wang women's top, and it looks great. And I'm very happy with it. At first, I was a little dysphoric about how skinny it makes my arms look. Like this style of sleeve just makes my arm look very small. But I'm coming to terms with my hand injury journey. I still lift some weights, but I'm never going to be a big boy, and that is okay. I know some of y'all in the chat can relate to that. So let me be a little flimsy armed boy. It's no big deal. Got your back girl said, I'm learning, just discovered Twitch a few months ago. Never spent much time on YouTube previously, so real cultural immersion. Hello, Pistachio. That's a cute name. Welcome. That's Dump Truck. Oh, I'm really glad the Dump Truck notifications actually work. So today we are going to be reading through my piece on how to be an influencer or how to be a content creator without crashing out or losing yourself. I actually just changed the title yesterday to content creator because I thought influencer has a certain connotation that I feel like is already heading out the door a little bit. Like very few people that anybody like who's watching this, like follows or is interested in probably describes themselves as an influencer. That has a little bit more of an implication of like trying to sell something directly, whereas I think most of us, if we make online content, or if we're online people or we're following online people, we probably see them more as content creators, activists, commentators, web personalities more than influencers, even though ultimately one of the big implications of my piece is that it's all really the same. It's all personal branding and sales, and you should not trust any of us, even if some of us maybe got into it with different intentions. The structure is set up in such a way that it just makes you a very self-involved, self-promoting person. Hi, gay. Welcome, artistic bum. I'm very glad that there are like some bald and the beautiful girlies and drag race girlies in my social contacts, because like none of my actual friends other than my friend Melanie, strong hours, fucks with drag like that, especially like mainstream drag. But I talking about Parasocial, I am gonna reach Katya and give her autism. Um, so thank you for seeing me. Thank you for understanding me. Uh, is this like one of those gamblers who say the first rule of gambling is never gamble? Yes, Fluffer68. The only way to win is to not play the game. Um, but there is some nuance here, I say, to justify my addiction. That I have made beautiful friendships out of being online. I've made things that were creatively fulfilling and worthwhile. But if you are into posting qua posting in terms of metrics and growing your following, you're going to be fucked up over it. And I certainly have been. I was always too arrogant to be a chasing the numbies person for validation. For social contact, sure. I was lonely, but I always thought, oh yeah, my ideas are the shit. I have things to say. I'm a bold young reporter with a point of view. Uh, so that has helped insulate me a little bit from when things doesn't have good numbies. But it's still a gamble. It still makes you just horrifically self-involved, and the people who gravitated are probably more likely to already be, if not self-involved, then in their head a lot because they're lonely or they don't have the social contact they need. They don't have maybe the social skills they want. They're neurodivergent and so on and so forth. So it can really appeal to people who are primed for it to really negatively affect them. Waluigi Bowser says, I thought I wanted to be a content creator, but I want actually to be a freelance artist. And this is something that is such a problem with how the digital landscape has changed, that it used to be that you could be a freelancer and you could make art for clients. You could do, web design, you could do design stuff, and you would have to market yourself, but you would need to have basically a website and some place to start to find clients. And then slowly over time, that would snowball. But what has happened in recent years is that now Instagram is also functionally LinkedIn. Everything has moved to Instagram. Events are there, so it's Facebook events, it's LinkedIn, it's monster.com. It's where you make new friends. It's where many people like date, which is terrifying. And so it's no longer a matter of, let's say I'm a visual artist trying to find clients for freelance work. How do I find those specific clients in some kind of marketplace where people are looking to hire someone to make art? Now it's, I have to just promote myself as a brand, as an artist, give out a ton of work for free, and establish as large of a following as possible. And then there'll be among that thousands and thousands of followers some conversion rate that maybe 1%, 2% of the people who follow me will be at some point in the market to hire me to design something for them. And that will be how I make my money. And you have to just, the scale of that is completely different from what it used to be like. When I was freelancing, I was on sites like Upwork where I had a profile, and the only people who would ever see that profile were people who were on Upwork looking to hire a freelancer. So the conversion rate, the ratio of people who looked at my profile to people who actually were going to hire me was very high. Now on Instagram, welcome Sushi Fushi. Thanks for the follow. Look at Dump Truck. But now on Instagram, you are performing your brand identity to a wide audience, the majority of whom are never going to hire you and aren't looking to. There's nothing to be bitter about there. It's not that they're taking advantage of you. They're just on Instagram to be entertained. And so most of the people who look at your posts and even like your posts, they're not going to hire you because that's not what they're there for. But that makes a lot of creators feel cheated because they've been lied to about how this stuff works. But of course, I'm getting into the piece ahead of myself here. Artistic Bum said, and every work we post gets fed to AI. Yes. It has already been, I think, again, AI is the most terrifying one to artists right now, but we already were caught in this horrible devil's bargain before that of all of our posts were being used for research by Meta. We were being experimented on by Meta. I hope everybody here knows that, but like Facebook, Meta, probably every major social media company, we just know the most about it with Facebook, have done non-consensual experiments on users by manipulating what's in their feeds and things like that. So they've been harvesting data from us about our browsing habits and selling it to advertisers and governments for a very long time. And people have largely been okay with that or fatalistic about it. And now with AI, I think it's more directly terrifying for people to see and is more directly seen as a threat to people's livelihoods. And so it gets more talk. But it has been an issue this whole time. That precedent was set a very long time ago. And we have been in that devil's bargain of giving away all of our information to Meta this whole time. And it's just that now there is a mathematical technology that allows them to do with that things that people find particularly threatening. But they had access to all of our images and artwork and words and writing and browsing habits long before there was an AI to capitalize on it. And so that cat is unfortunately out of the bag. Like, we can't take back what they've already captured. And faces, yes, thank you, Quarian. And there were these trends that really encouraged people to post pictures of themselves at 8 years old, post themselves pre and post transition, all of these memes that just in result led to these platforms getting even more and more of our information and training their facial recognition technologies on them. So shit's bad. Lori Love Prince says would never pass an IRB. That's right. Yeah. One of the real most provocative Facebook studies was that they emotionally manipulated the content of people's feeds. So people's feeds were doctored. They were never told they were in a study, but people's feeds were doctored to either put positive content in front of them that would make them happy, content that would make them sad, or content that would make them angry. And they found that the angry content drove the most usage of the platform. And this was years ago that this study was done. And we see the results of that finding everywhere now. And probably it was affecting how Facebook was using us long before we, as the public, knew about it. So shit's bad. But I have good news, everybody. Everybody's going to be proud of me, I hope. This morning, I switched to Firefox. Hello. Finally. I've been meaning to do it for about a year at least. People have been telling me to do it my whole life. Imported all my shit. Set up my stream info on Twitch on Firefox. We're going to read my piece looking at it in a browser window in Firefox. So hopefully that will put less demand on my RAM. It'll give less information to Google. All kinds of good things. I can block ads on YouTube more easily now because fucking Chrome keeps removing ad blocker or deactivating ad blocker from Chrome, even though you can go into the settings and turn it back on. And you have to do all this like fuckery now to give it permissions to use the ad blocker, especially to block YouTube ads. But enough of that. I've abandoned Chrome, and Firefox is going to protect me and allow me to block my YouTube ads as much as I want, and hopefully help some of you block Twitch ads. You know how we feel here. Hell yeah! Hello, welcome, Alex Index. Yeah, we're doing it. We're making it happen. I'm gonna do something crazy and just make this chat big here so I can read it. Maybe I can't actually chat again. I know it's really small. Oop. Nope, this is behind. I've been claiming for years that no one I know uses Facebook to share life updates with friends anymore. It's the post outrageous link and be enraged in the comments site. Oh yeah. For me, the turning point for Facebook was definitely 2020. Before that, I still did sometimes use Facebook to organize like local events and hangouts with people. And I had some goofy like meme page groups that I ran or contributed to and shit like that. And it was fun. But in like summer 2020, suddenly it was just crickets. Everybody was gone. Everybody was gone from that site. And it's changed a lot. And now we're all on Instagram and it's horrible, but it's really hard to peel oneself away from. Really, really hard, because that's where all the events are and all the conversations are. So it really sucks. I wish I didn't have to be on there, but there are enough things that I enjoy that I still do it. I'm on Blue Sky now. I'm on Blue Sky as well, but only for kink things. That's been my social media methadone. That if I feel like looking at fun, pretty things, if I want some novelty in my enclosure, because that's a legitimate use of social media. Like, it's not stupid to want to hop around on websites and look at fun things. Human beings a lot of times crave novelty and beauty and stimulation. And when we turn to social media for it, it often backfires. But now my Blue Sky is purely a kink Blue Sky. So all I see is just like cool rubber outfits and furry art and people getting choked and shit, like shit that I want to see and that makes me happy. So when I am looking for just things to make me smile, I open up Blue Sky and I see somebody just getting like brutalized and I go, hell yes. Lori Love Prince says, I admin a large group about a disease, and for that I am stuck on Facebook. Yeah, I have definitely heard that, that there's a lot of just really specific community groups, disability groups, parent groups, all kinds of things like that. I have a main and lewd Blue Sky account. True gooner for life. Yes, goon life. Pandemic shattering of in-person community and shitification of online social media. It's been painful. Yeah, it's been a hard few years to actually remain connected. But I don't know. I personally am seeing changes, but I don't know if that's just I've been making better changes in my life. As many of you who have been on Instagram, etc., or Tumblr this weekend would know, I've been at Beguiled, Hypnosis Con, Erotic Hypnosis Con, and connecting with people that I've known for years as Tumblr moots. Some of them on this stream too, and only rarely seen in person, if ever. And in the years before the pandemic, when I went to Beguiled, I was way too shy to do much social initiating ever. It's something I've talked about that I really, really struggle with. But this weekend, I really didn't even have to challenge myself. I felt comfortable. It was a small person conference of only about 200 attendees. I know a significant segment of them, even if we haven't talked in a long time, or my name was different, or my handle was different. And we're all super neurodivergent, super trans. It's a super COVID conscious, very disabled community. And I just felt comfortable. So I just really, even in the lobby of the hotel, would walk up to people and just say, hi, how's your con going so far? What class are you going to right now? Do you know so-and-so? What makes you most interested in hypnosis? Let's trade Discord handles. I like your latex. I have some latex too. Let's talk about latex. Oh, you're into doll things? Will you draw doll joints on my body? Cool. Let's be friends. Do you want to hook up later? Like, depending on the nature of the interaction. Like it was so cool and effortless and easy, like just walking up to people and saying hi. And that is something I do not do. I do not feel equipped to do. I'm usually too inhibited to do. And I walked away from it with like this sense of investment in this community, a desire to teach classes there the next time that I go, just feeling socially capable and connected. And I share this just because it's nice to bask in that memory a little longer, but also like to illustrate that it is possible, that even if you are a really, really deeply socially anxious and inhibited person who needs a lot of time to process, which I really, really am in those kinds of interactions and situations, like when you are in a safe feeling space, where you actually feel empowered to do that stuff, you really can do it. Quarian says, I have one community like that, which meets once a year. It's a lifeline for sure. Yeah. And I feel a little bit of that way about FurFest. It's a much more comfortable environment than most social environments for me. And I feel like this weekend I really unlocked my like social initiating tool set when I'm around at least a community that's somewhat like that, where I know the odds are pretty strong. We're going to have some real shit in common. and I'm going to enjoy talking to this person. I'm not going to have to just like pretend to care about things that I just don't, understand that they're into. Or we're going to have completely disparate values and views. So I'm going to bring this toolkit with me to FurFest. I'm going to use the skills that I just honed at a 200-person con and bring that shit to a 16,000-person con this December. And I'm going to just walk up to people and say, hey, how's it going? I love your shoes. How's your con going so far? Where are you headed? What you been doing so far? Because I know people in that community, they want to talk. And a lot of them are super shy. There are always people in the FurFest group chats that are like, I flew out here. I can't leave my hotel room. I'm so shy. This is the most important community to me. This means so much to me, and I can't initiate with people. I want so badly to connect, but I can't. I was that person. I'm often that person. So like to just feel like I could walk up to people and just chat them up and have a positive experience and to want to keep talking. Like somebody hit me up and just said, I'm one of my special interests is consent and all of the ins and outs of navigating consent. Do you want to just like meet and chat about it and trade resources and just like nerd out on a mutual special interest? It's so rare that I get to actually do that. I know a lot of people's special interests, but they're usually not the same as mine. And everybody there had the same special interest as me because it's a hypnosis con. It was life-saving. Nothing COVID conscious in healthcare. Oh, I'm so sorry. Lori loves Prince. It's terrible. I think there probably are some small community groups led by disabled people, but medicine does so much to exclude disabled people and immunocompromised people from ever even being able to work in the field. So it's not surprising to me that it's this feedback loop, this like closing out of those perspectives. Transferable skills and XP. We love to see it. Yes, I'm going to bring my say hi to people skills to, pup karaoke this week. I already know some of the people, so I can continue to deepen and further establish contact. I'm going to bring these skills to kink events that are friendly to it. But not all events like these are the same. Not all kink events are the same. Like 2 weeks ago, I was at Chicago Fetish Weekend, and that is a bunch of, I don't know, like that felt more like a popular kid in-group kind of vibe. Maybe because it's a pageant or something. Or people are there to just see, I don't know. The energy was different. People were too, like, conventionally sexy and neurotypical. Even though there's a ton of fucking sexy-ass people at Beguiled, they're all also, like, so autistic and weird as shit. So, like, it's different. I don't know. My new partner and I share some special interests and love listening to each other info dump about our non-mutual special interests. It's magical. It's such a nice thing. And I try to always be curious. I often just am curious. I like hearing about people's special interests. But not all special interests are created the same. So sometimes the questions that I even can ask are just not that interesting. So when you have compatible special interests, or something that you really do want to learn more about, or just the way the person explains it is that good shit, and it's not draining, it's just interesting. It's magical. Chicago Festish Fest. It's people dressing up as Sausage Party characters. Oh my god, no, I don't want to think about Sausage Party at all. Ew. I hate that stuff. I hate those like rude, lewd adult animation things. Ooh, it's so yucky to me. It's so like bombastic. I don't know. Ugh. I know it's meant to be annoying on purpose. And it definitely does annoy me. Ugh. Chicago style hot dog. So yeah, that's the last thing I do want to mention about Beguiled here. If it comes up more organically during the stream, I'm happy to talk about it more or answer people's questions after we get into the piece. But Beguiled had COVID consciousness on lock. They ran this event, the best that I've seen an event in years handle COVID. To register and attend, you had to have proof of vaccination submitted on the Discord channel before attending. The week of, you had to submit at least one negative COVID test, and they did check the timestamp on the picture to ensure that it was a recent negative COVID test from that, like the day before the con. So you needed all of that to even enter the con. Masking was required everywhere. They were very firm on even just rules about food and drink in the con space, and the expectation that you can take your mask off if you're presenting while you are presenting, but you have to put it back on when you're done. You can take your mask off to drink water, but be very attentive about putting it back on. They had like 9 different like big air filtration devices. So they had air filtration in every conference room and in the dungeon. They had very clear guidelines about these things and were very firm on it. And it established a community norm that was beautiful. Everybody was masking all throughout the hotel, even when they weren't in the convention space. Some people who were having room parties also required COVID tests to enter the room party for that day. So additional COVID testing if people were going to unmask. And they were all very, very clear about that. And I am not the best at COVID safety adherence. I am very resigned if I'm in a lot of spaces. I have a very like self-destructive, like lackadaisical bent in a lot of ways. So if I'm in a space where like it's like a kink space, like a gay bar, and nobody else is masking, I'm very like a guess I'll die kind of thing. Like that's very much how I was raised, and just like that's an instinct that I have. And I also forget to mask sometimes too, unless I'm in a really crowded bus or concert space where it's like, oh, this feels really bad. I'm going to remember to mask. But it was so ingrained in me as a habit this weekend that, oh, I'm leaving my hotel room. I'm walking back inside from being outdoors. I got to put my mask on. That this week when I've been leaving my house, I've been like, oh shit, I need to make sure I have my mask. It's been a wonderful change for me. And they were understanding too. There were conversations in the Discord about people who can't mask because of their disabilities and competing access needs. It's a very mindful community. Everybody is super analytical. That's why we want to turn our brains off and get hypnotized, I guess. And very immunocompromised, very disabled community. They moved to a different hotel because of accessibility reasons, because the previous space was not very accessible to wheelchair users and mobility aid users. It can still happen and it can still exist. And it's through the intention and care of the community, and the community being really willing to say, we'll be a small conference. We probably prefer to be a small conference if that means we can really set these rules. We're not just having any random person walk in off the street to participate. These are people who are signing up months ahead of time and submitting their info. Chicago said, you're making me want to go to next year's event. Please do. It's in the suburbs. It's in Miss Arlington Heights. That's all I'll say. It's close to an amazing Japanese import grocery store and food court, Mitsuwa, I think it's called. And we don't have dates yet. I'll message me if you want Chicago, and I'll give you dates when they announce the dates. Because I don't want to blow up the spot too big. Unlike, I'll post it on Tumblr too, because everybody's a fucking hypno freak on there. Yeah, there's also going to be an online con in October. So you can go to Beguiled Online if you really don't want to do the in-person thing or can't do the in-person thing, or you can't travel. And I'm going to be teaching a class. If it gets approved, I think it'll probably get approved, I'm going to submit a class to the online Beguiled on long-term, long-distance power dynamics. So how do you be somebody's long-term sub, their pet, their slave, etc., in a DS dynamic long distance? Because it's something that I have a lot of experience with, and I'm going to have a co-presenter who I've been talking to, who's really great. So there's going to be a whole bunch of different cool classes at Beguiled Online. So if you're interested in learning more about hypno from afar or from the comfort of your home, then check that out. Love to see you there. I'll post about it. Somebody remind me to post about it. As for the questions about what does testing look like in the U.S., yeah, nobody does it. Like, no, unless somebody, like, only very COVID conscious people test, or if they're having an event that requires a test, which I have not seen in ages. Like small orgies, if we're sticking with the kinky example, like small parties, small house parties, small orgies. I know some people who are COVID conscious who will request people test. A lot of time, like I've been invited to some birthday parties and like sobriety anniversaries where people were asked to test. But generally speaking, it was honor system, which I think is if you're inviting people that you know to your house, I think that's reasonable to have an honor system. But for an event, actually checking tests, very, very rarely see it. Unless it is a group that is explicitly a COVID conscious group. And most of those in the city that I know personally, they just hold outdoor events and require masking outdoors rather than requiring tests. So we're about to end the summer lull for COVID with cases on the uptick. Most likely, though, we also, like on really hot, sometimes there's upticks in the summer too, from travel and from people being indoors if it's too hot. So yeah, well, we can, probably expect a winter fall bump and various other bumps. Hello, Edge Peasant. Welcome. Good to see you. So that's Beguiled. We can chat more about it afterward, or we can talk parasociality afterward. It all depends on people's vibe. I have a little bit of time. I have a singing lesson at 3:00 my time. But until then, I'm kind of just chilling, so we can chill. But we'll move to the piece, so that we get it in the can. We have singing lessons at the same time. Yay! What are you working on right now? I'm working on Randy Travis's "Forever and Ever, Amen." My voice is gonna be hoarse from all the talking, but that's okay because my vocal technique has gotten a lot better. I don't know how perceptible it is to people now, but I'm definitely projecting up in the back above my tongue, in the back of the mouth, a lot more, which is making it definitely more, there's just more easy movement of air, which is something I still struggle with, is moving the air consistently. But it is projecting more, and it's getting a little bit more fag voice, high pitched. And I have a lot more control over am I using the thick middle vocal cords? Am I using the side thinner vocal cords, or am I using all of them? So sometimes my tone is like nice now. Like every now and then I'll be singing and I'm like, ooh, that sounds pleasant actually. I'm working on Salt by Ivor, Swimming and King by Florence and the Machine, and Nettles by Ethel Cain. That's awesome. Love Ethel Cain. Florence and the Machine, that's a belter. That must be fun. We're working on my upper register right now. I have been getting a lot better at getting my tongue out the way to hit low notes and high notes. And yeah, I'm learning to see the fun in discovering where your voice is at that day instead of viewing it as I need to get better and better and better and better and better every day. That's not how it works. That is something that my very lovely singing teacher and friend is explaining to me. So it's good shit. Okay, so as I said, I switched to Firefox, so hopefully that should fix some of the RAM issues that were making it hard for me to screen share and have my camera on at the same time. Yay, Firefox. I have an air fryer. Basically. I've elevated my life. So please let me know if there are audio issues, if things start glitching, if my camera freezes, and so on. Especially once I switch to screen share mode. I just want to have that for my records. If you're on mobile, don't tell me because your phone is probably already fucking up currently. If you're on mobile, you probably can't even hear this because the mobile app sucks so bad. But let me know if there are any connectivity issues, glitches, etc. I really don't want to have to upgrade computers to be able to do this stuff, but I'm going to do what I need to. When I can. But hopefully switching to Firefox and never using Chrome again will save me a lot of fucking RAM. I'm on the iPad app and it works great. Oh, that's wonderful. The phone the phone version for me is such dog shit. Gotta go. We'll check out this latest article. I'm a health researcher, and now publishing more or less requires some social media. Yeah. Leave your thoughts and stuff in the comments or wherever, Tumblr, Askbox, whatever, because I'd love to hear from you. I want to see good science communication out there, and there's not a whole lot of it, and very few scientists are social media savvy. So, would love to hear from you about the ins and outs of these things, because I have thoughts. Okay, let's switch on over. Let's switch on over to the dang old article. Here's my guts. Here's my Firefox, and here's the piece. If you must, here is how to be a content creator without crashing out or losing yourself. This posting stuff is supposed to be fun. This is published on my Substack for free at drdevinprice.substack.com. All my work is always free forever. You can subscribe over there to get these pieces in your email inbox when I release them. And this month, I think, is going to informally just be a little bit of a social media content block. The next thing I'm going to post is an updated version of my What to Do If You Get Canceled article, and which is a real short one. Which is nice. Just a short list of like, here's how to survive if you get canceled online and not make it worse for yourself. And then the one I'm going to write after that is going to be what to do if you want to cancel someone, because I am cancellation neutral. I see it as a social media tool that people try to use. I think it doesn't usually work well. I think it's often bad both for survivors and for people who are accused of things. But we can talk about social media as a tool and a set of tactics. And so I want to kind of cover all sides of it, because I've been part of, at least holding institutions publicly accountable. And I've been criticized online as well. So I have many thoughts on all of that stuff. So this month is posting commentary month on the Substack, if you will. This posting stuff is supposed to be fun. The top image for this piece is a Canva infographic. I hope people reading this could pick up on the fact that it's meant to be like ironic or tongue-in-cheek, but I just chose like a few really generic Canva Instagram graphics and put my text in it. So this one says, remember you are making the choice to post. You can stop doing so at any time. And it's kind of a light off-white background with the word choice highlighted in yellow. And it has my at Dr. Devin Price on it, which is something I never actually do. So I hope that kind of conveys that this is a joke. I have never posted in this style. And I have a bunch of these as my images throughout the piece. And they were fun to make. A lot of creative types think that they have to build a large social media presence to market their projects and network their way into a sustainable career in the arts. Many of them start off seeing their digital presence as only a means to an end, or a necessary evil, but then develop a taste for it, until posting becomes one of their primary outlets, and energy sinks. Other social media power users become influencers because they have a community or a belief system they feel compelled to advocate for, and think dispensing regular memes, rants, hot takes will earn a large amount of social goodwill they'll be able to redirect toward their desired political calls to action. They think they'll be able to translate likes and shares into boots on the ground, or butts in chairs at the workshops they're selling, in other words. Then there's the social media figures among us who got into posting because we were simply too lonesome or weird to bond with people in physical life. So we honed the ability to express ourselves in words or content because we hoped it would make us more attractive to others, or at least fill the void of time. Hello, Eric. Welcome. Whatever drove us to get online, post regularly, and generate thousands of dollars in free advertising revenue for the likes of Meta and X, most of us influencer types eventually come to realize the bargain that we struck wasn't quite the one we thought we were making. We find that the audience we've developed might love what we have to give away for free, or love the messy show that our public lives have become, but they don't actually care about us, won't take marching orders from us, and don't meet any request that is difficult, costly, or happening off-platform. The constantly recycling fights that we get into online might not change all that many hearts and minds, so the 20th time that he, him, lesbian discourse trickles down our feeds, we wonder if we're making any real cultural headway, or if we're just a comfortingly repetitive entertainment. Skibbity toilet for the angry, humanities-educated set. Or one day we have a public meltdown and lose face, then discover that the thousands of usernames we've counted among our friends do not care about the collective toll their individual comments and messages take. Because how could they really understand that? At that point, all the candor and familiarity that we've performed might just curdle into contempt, and our illusion of being highly connected fades, revealing us to be just as freaky, alone, and socially grasping as we always were. I've been in the internet personality game for a very long time. I first became a digital micro-celebrity in the 4th grade on AOL's Games Network, and I have had dozens of viral moments since. So I've witnessed just about every way that being publicly online can sour or explode. I've collapsed under the pressure that I placed on myself to constantly produce new digital work, and from the scrutiny of tens of thousands of people, and I'm still working hard to recover from the social anxiety it's given me. I will take a minute here to talk through the links. One of the links here talking about me being a digital micro-celebrity is from my piece, Interact with Minors, where I talk about being a 4th grader on AOL's Games Network and making a lot of legit friends and building an audience of fans of my humor at that age, and how actually kind of surprisingly appropriate that all was. And I linked to a few memes that I've made that have gone viral. This one is a cereal meme that I made before my name change. Where is it here? Did they take away the image? Oh, okay, here's the so this is a piece posted by Mike Fahey. May he rest in peace. He was the Snack Taku writer. He wrote a lot about food. And then he had several really catastrophic health events and sadly died a couple of years ago. But he found this meme that I posted. Oh no, it's disconnected. Let me copy the URL and fix it with my current URL here, just so I can show this thing off. Oh no, he just linked to page 2. No. Well, I'll have to pull it up later. But I can put this reference to it. Ah, God, Tumblr's janky. I just did like a God tier through shit tier ranking of different cereals, breakfast cereals, and it it was like very controversial because I put like things like Golden Grams, really like high tier, and like nut cluster cereal that nobody had heard of, high tier, and I put like honeycomb like bottom tier, and it made a lot of people mad. So if you really want to make people mad and go viral, if you really want to go viral, you make people mad. This is my lesson to you. If you want to go viral, you post something that is relatable and interesting, but just off enough, just missing something enough that it drives everyone crazy. So they want to correct it, add on to it, critique it, and so on. That is how you really drive virality. Make people mad. Same thing Facebook learned. So that's one of my memes. This is another time that I went viral on Tumblr. It's a expanding brain meme. So there's a series of panels of the brain getting bigger and bigger, and then eventually becoming kind of celestial connections between different minds in the space void. And I'll read through each stage of it. I'm attracted to women and men, so I'm bi. Then the next level, more expanded. Bi refers to similar and different genders, not men and women. Next stage. Given how complicated and idiosyncratic everyone's idea of their own gender is it even possible for two people to have meaningfully similar or different genders? Next stage. I guess I'm pan because my partner's gender doesn't matter. Next panel. Gender is a multifaceted, personal, and complicated to parse, and a person's gender cannot be readily seen, so it's not a useful framework for describing my experience of physical attraction to people, but I value and find meaning in my partner's gender identities nonetheless. And then the final, most expanded brain just says, I'm gay. And this meme, gosh, I don't even know how many notes it had. Let's reblog it. Actually, we won't do that right now. But like, it has like 80,000. It has 41,000. My bad. It has 41,000 notes. 41,000 notes. It made people super mad. You can go through the notes on here. Like, they said I was being biphobic, even though at the time I identified as like bi or pan, and that's what the whole post is like about. Today, now when I reblog it, people are like, yeah, this is exactly the journey that I went through. But in the beginning, it drove people nuts, and they were like saying I was being biphobic, panphobic, saying everybody needs to be gay. Even though I think it's obvious to me now anyway that the point is like being obsessed with specific gender label is not important, or orientation label is not important. Like, gay is sometimes the easiest way to put it. So that's another one. Okay. Get out of here. Hires Titan TV. We don't talk like that about our queens here. All right. Thank you, moderators, for deleting the comments. Appreciate y'all. Good Lord. This one was maybe my biggest failure ever. So somebody else on Tumblr posted, I thought this was a cute butch and I was going to thirst follow, but no, it's the Potter Puppet Pals guy again. I'm still losing my shit on this tag on a picture of Neil Cicerega. And then I came in, and this was a long time ago, you guys, so don't be mad at me. I came in and said, my bisexual non-binary ass literally does not understand this. It's so wild to me that for a lot of people, finding out that someone is not the gender you thought they were is like an attraction-destroying event. And then people did not like this. People did not like this comment. We've talked about this on Time Theft Today before, so I won't go into it at length. But in my defense, I did not mean this as every lesbian needs to be attracted to Neil Cicerega and remain so. I was not saying it's wrong or less ascended or anything like that for someone's attraction to change based on gender identity. I just, at the time, thought it was interesting what that was like, because people experience attraction differently, and some people identity matters, sometimes body matters, sometimes sexual role or kink role matters, but it's all interesting to me. So I did not mean it's so wild in the sense of you guys are fucked up for not wanting to fuck Neil Cicerega. I just meant it's the phenomenology of it is interesting. But people were very mad. They said I had a superiority complex and that I was being lesbophobic. And Neil Cicerega himself messaged me and was like, hey, I don't think you're picking up on this aspect of why people are offended. The wording comes across as judgmental, even if that's not your intention. Better luck next time. And I thought that was so sweet of him that like he was like trying to help me out. So what a king. Neil Cicerega, I love your work. You're amazing. And you were trying to save me from getting canceled for being lesbophobic. And that one has 43,000 likes as well. And then here's my biggest, most viral moment ever, probably my essay on Medium, Laziness Does Not Exist. This is why I'm an author man. An agent reached out to me based on this piece. It is still one of the most successful essays on Medium of all time. It still generates like tens of thousands of views a month, many months. It's been read by, last I checked, over 3 million people. It's probably close to 4 now. And people liked this one. People didn't hate this one. So that's cool. And now it's a book and blah, blah, blah. You all know that. You all know that tea. So as I've said, I've been an online human. I've been a posting human for a very long time. I've made lots of memes. There are lots of random things that have happened on the internet that that I had some little finger in one way or another, and I've been doing it since I was a child baby. So I have the disease. I have posting disease, and sometimes I'm good at it, and that makes it worse. So those are my bona fides for talking about this stuff. And this is a link to an essay I wrote last year about being known and not at all is what it's called, and just the struggles that I've had in recent years with having, tens of thousands of Instagram followers and people being parasocial and things like that. Waluigi Bowser asks, but where the memes became viral on Twitter? The cereal meme was viral on Twitter. I think it was Honey Bunches of Oats reposted it, and lots of people fought with it. It got shared outside of any attribution to me, as a true meme does, quite a bit. And I've had a lot of people get mad at me on Twitter about takes on ADHD medication that they were misinterpreting and shit like that. But I was never that good at Twitter. My cat Joan is watching us on the big TV. Hello Joan, hello baby. I love when the Twitch is on the TV. It's so cool. It feels so major. But for the most part, I've been able to avoid the largest pitfalls of digital notoriety because I've observed what works and doesn't work for others, set pretty firm boundaries on how I engage with complete strangers on the internet, and have pretty tempered expectations for what the work of posting can actually do for me or the world. And as we get into some of this stuff, I hope to hear from people in the chat, because many of y'all are part of a digital community that is linked to me loosely, but it's something that y'all have made what it is. The Piscord, it was created by Callisto, is moderated by Callisto. It's inspired by a show that I do with Maddie, and it's really built and maintained by y'all. And so that is just really, it feels a lot healthier and less fucked up, but there's still obviously these potential dynamics at play and stuff like that. So I'm curious to hear people's thoughts on it, experiences of it, both in that space and in other spaces, and even, things that you think should be done differently. Because I want there to be as little of a power dynamic and weird, creepy shit as possible. But, I don't know. There's always much to consider there. Waluigi says, I remember my Twitter post being viral a few times before I eventually deactivated my old Twitter account a while ago. Good move. Good move. At this point, I know a lot of people with large social media followings. You can call that high B nepotism if you like. I call it getting along with people who are talented and share my addictions. And I've seen many of them having the hard time I did. And yes, high B nepotism is real discourse that happened on trans Instagram recently. There were some people complaining that all the big accounts that are trans people, meme posters, they all seem to know each other. That seems so questionable. What's going on here? Is it nepotism? And it's no, they like my memes, I like their memes, so we talk to each other. The Piscord is a nice place to be. It really is. I really, really love the conversations people have on the Piscord about COVID mitigation. Even people who find COVID mitigation hard, we're able to have, mutually respectful, productive conversations about a lot of hard things and learn things. And we have hardly ever had to moderate anything, which is great. That's our number one rule. Don't make us make a rule. It aspires to be as horizontal and anarchic as something like this can, even though the nature of the technology does still prevent some of that, because there's still a person in charge of the server and a moderator. But the Piscord is really nice. I was terrified to make one, and y'all have completely proven me wrong and in all my fears, and that has been really great. It's been really nice. And there's the link to join the Piscord server right there in the chat. Hello. They get overwhelmed by bad faith comments, launch a new podcast that doesn't get many subscriptions despite their 50K follower count, then get depressed, get into meaningless fights with other influencers and say things they regret to a wide audience instead of writing it in their journal, and mistake a high follower count for the friendship, love, community, or financial stability that they've always longed for. Usually, posting has become so compulsive for them that they can't find their way out. Don't even begin to question whether they should continue interacting with their massive audience until it gets so bad they have no choice but to make a change. And so I thought I'd collect all of the strategies for surviving being a digital public figure that I've figured out, so that anyone aspiring to this kind of life can make what they will of it. I also think reading this guide might be helpful if you are a heavy consumer of social media. A little peek behind the curtain might reveal just how self-serving and calculated absolutely everything that you see on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, YouTube, and TikTok really is, and give you less reason to trust any of us or buy the crap we're selling, which I think is deserved. So here they are, my patented tips on building and maintaining a social media presence without becoming too much of a self-absorbed demon about it or crashing out. Tip number 1, the one and only tip. If you don't read the whole piece, you only need to know this tip. Post because you want to. Post because it's fun. Do these things because they are creatively fulfilling to you. Nobody's making you do this. You are choosing to do it. I understand we are in an economic and social landscape that encourages it and makes people feel like it's necessary. But as we will get into, posting the majority of the time will not bring any money or fame or social connection into your life other than what you invest into individual social connections. So there's no reason to do it as a means to an end. You should do it because you like it itself. Everything goes back to that. Post because you want to. You don't want to post, don't fucking post. Get off the thing. Play a video game, take a walk, pet your cat, read a book, anything else. Draw, write in your journal, anything else. Many wannabe influencers start off using social media in a purely instrumental way. They're a writer and they've heard that having a large following is essential to getting a book deal, or they care a lot about politics and think the corporate-backed social internet is the only marketplace of ideas where any meaningful exchange is happening these days. And these beliefs are rooted in reality to an extent. I got my massive first book deal on the strength of my internet virality. If you want to sell a book, having a large following is important to convince publishers to invest in you. It's not a guarantee that your book is going to sell well. In fact, a majority of the time it will not. But if you want a publisher to give you an advance, at this point, you pretty much do have to point to a large social media following because they think that that's going to sell books. It doesn't, but they think it will. Mass movement on social media can fill up streets and government offices with protesters or cause large corporations' stock valuations to crash, as we've seen with McDonald's and Starbucks. There is a real power to this fake place. But where a lot of social media users go wrong is by treating social media like a job with external objective standards of success. They clock in, study the trends and aesthetics that have worked well for others, reproduce the same content that does well over and over again on a regular schedule, and expect the line to go up consistently forever. It really does not work like that. People are on social media looking mainly to be distracted or entertained, and they can smell when the posting is rote and passionless. And as much as the algorithm loves to push out the same reheated glurge over and over, users can sense when a creator does not have the artistic sauce. If what they are watching feels like a rerun of a sitcom, they'll care about it just as much as any trash on TV. Why work so hard on something with no life behind it? I'm sure many of us have had this experience where some really funny or heartwarming meme appears in your feed. Like a funny joke, a funny trans person trying on their pre-transition outfits thing, and you like it and you follow them, and then you see the same, a different version of the same video from that person appear in your feed over and over and over again. And you realize, oh, they had one video that went viral. It was pushed out by the algorithm and did big numbers. And they are trying to just keep doing that again and again. And then you unfollow them. Lots of people are doing some version of that that's less extreme, but is still basically having the same effect. Making the same tired old posts about the same handful of well-worn topics is bound to be unrewarding for most creative people. And if you're trying to develop an audience, exercising your creativity was probably the original point. So I recommend approaching social media use not as some grim obligation, but as a form of play. Try to focus on making and discussing things you're actually interested in right now, and only post when you want to. Don't convince yourself that the fate of the entire world or your professional future hangs on whether you made the right Labubu joke. Just hang out. Have fun. Experiment with new styles, looks, and formats. Info dump about a special interest. If you get sick of making infographics, go make glitchy video art instead. Honey boo boo jokes. La boo boo, la honey boo boo. Some of the internet's most impactful figures are first and foremost creatives who changed up what they were doing and invented new genres long before it was popular. Neil Cicerega, of not being a lesbian but looking like one fame, went from making flash animated videos like Brody Quest to puppet shows to live acted YouTube sketches to virtuosic albums, and completely transformed online culture each time. I think these things will probably not get me copyright claimed, so I'm going to really quickly click on some amazing things that Neil Cicerega has done over the years. I first became acquainted with him on Newgrounds as a child baby, when he was a child baby himself. And this is a video he made on Newgrounds back in the day, Brody Quest. And I believe Neil Cicerega made the music. And eventually he got more into making music. So, just a silly flash animated video of Adrian Brody walking through a bunch of different vistas. And he's not actually walking, it's just an image of him that's moving back and forth like a walking animation. And it just goes and goes like that. And there's a bit in the music where it's like Adrian Brody. Kind of like anime sickos. So this is like the early kernel. Oh, is the music not playing? I might need to change my audio input in here. There you go. Now can you hear it? Should be on now. And he's walking past like the Grand Canyon, the Hoover Dam. Look at him go. I don't know where that is. The Lincoln Memorial. Is it the Argentinian Jesus, the Taj Mahal? He has a starfish following him, a couple of bouncing starfishes, Mecca, a giant Eddie Murphy bust. Christ the Redeemer, yes. Everest, all across the planet. Now he's in space. It's just good. It's good shit. And then he went on to making Potter Puppet Pals, which we won't watch. He did some live action YouTube sketches. And then he made, under the name Lemon Demon, and then under his personal, he made an album under the name Lemon Demon, which was all original music. And then he also made these incredible mashup albums, Mouth Sounds, Mouth Moods, and Mouth Silence. And all of them feature, almost every single track on all three of these albums features some bit of Smash Mouth music. All-Star, etc. You can see Shrek is reflected in the glasses here. These mashups, I wish I could play them, but they would probably get DMCA'd, so I can't. But they are incredible. These are not just like corny mashups. Some of them are genuinely emotionally moving. Tom Harrison of Anime Sickos used to have a podcast that I was on called You Don't Understand. And there was an episode where he introduced me, and I can't remember the co-host, to this trilogy of albums, and we talked through all of the songs. Let me see if I can find it. You Don't Understand podcast, Neil Cicierega. This is the original podcast, You Don't Understand podcast, by Tom Harrison. And yeah, there is a Neil Cicierega episode. Oh. So if you're interested in hearing me and Tom Anime Sicko break down, and a co-host who I can't remember because it was many years ago, break down the songs on the Mouth trilogy and why they're so meaningful, give that a listen. Give these albums a listen. I love Neil Cicierega. My favorite Neil Cicierega Lemon Demon song is Lifetime Achievement Award. It's like a song about the ghost of Michael Jackson being reanimated and leached for fame and profit. And that's very relevant to a lot of the things that we're talking about right now. It's about a reanimated corpse being forced to dance and perform forever, and being loved for what came from their throat, and that throat being forcibly reanimated. It's an incredible album. If you like nerdy shit, if you like musicals, it has a lot of songs about cryptids and capitalism at the same time. It's so good. I love this man. I love you, Neil Cicierega. Every lesbian should be attracted to you. You're the dude. You're the man. And he really just makes beautiful music. And so he is a creative person who has stayed creatively fluid throughout. That man was not just making the same corny Flash animations forever. If he did that, he would have ended up in the same position that Nostalgia Critic is in, like still making shit, but there's no passion behind it, and it's a punchline, and there's no evolving audience for it. Their art is not evolving. There's no soul in it. Whereas he makes work clearly based on his own passion, and it shows. Another example, Bo Burnham churned out comedic songs that made him famous as a very young man, performed in comedy clubs, directed and acted in a couple of major films, 8th Grade and Promising Young Woman among them, then released a magnum opus about artistic self-involvement and capitalist alienation that could be his final public word without leaving any of us wanting. And that, of course, I'm referring to Inside, which I absolutely love, and has some songs. Both of these creators have songs about dealing with internet fame that I really strongly relate to, and creative process. When Inside came out, I was locked inside a brick room with no heat and no internet, writing Unmasking Autism, and going through it. So the things that they say about chasing virality, trying to keep an audience satisfied, and how lonely it is, and how it makes it feel like you're just a corpse having the juices like sucked out of you. It's so relatable, and that is self-involved art that somehow, in theory, that somehow managed to connect with millions of people because it's from the heart and it's good, and it speaks to real things that the people making it were passionate about and things that are happening in the world today, rather than just grasping for numbies. And so that's why it's such good art. Engaging that kind of creative fluidity is meaningful, which is better than being short-term profitable or popular. And it makes you adaptable and skillful no matter where your efforts wind up. Even if a particular project goes nowhere, the time will not be wasted because it helped you grow and informed your future creations. And this is a link to a piece from friend of the show, Marta Rose, talking about spiral time, that everything in time circles back and cycles back through, like the rings on a tree or a spiral in like a conch shell or something like that, that you might learn how to sing because you are in a musical, but that skill might be useful in a completely different facet of your life years later, even if you don't get the part in the musical. You know, you might work on crocheting a blanket and not finish it, and then years later you might have learned something from crocheting that is useful for another project that you never expected. You never know where things are headed, and so the journey circles back. The lessons you learned, they always circle back. And the longer you live, the more you see and have these moments where something will happen to you and you will be the exact right person to handle it because you'll be the exact perfect combination of past experiences, skills, lessons, mistakes, where it'll feel like everything was leading to this moment. And those moments are real moments of like grace, like whether you're spiritual at all, like when those things all come together, it suddenly feels like, oh no, I was never screwing up. Even if I quit something, even if I wasn't good at something, that time was never wasted. And that is something that Marta Rose writes about really brilliantly. Everything you have ever done, have ever been, everything you have ever succeeded or failed, it's still there available to you right here, right now. Nothing is ever wasted. Really beautiful concept for creative people to internalize. Being propelled by genuine passion rather than obligation can also prevent burnout. And as a nice side effect, work you actually enjoyed making tends to have an ineffable glimmer about it that the right audience will pick up on and appreciate on a deeper level. Trust me, it is better to have a dozen people write thoughtful responses to your work than to have thousands of people like it but barely understand it. Here's another Canva infographic I've written that says, you don't have to post, issue a statement on everything, tell the entire world your business, be an expert on everything, reply to everyone, reply to anyone, read any social media posts, or do work for free. You are choosing to do these things. Tip number 2, don't fuss about metrics, timing, or trends, which if you're following tip number 1, you will already be following tip number 2. If you post because you like to post, then you won't care about the metrics as much. Hopefully not at all. Maybe you won't even look at it because you're so busy making the next big, exciting thing, which is where I try to be for the most part. It is easy to obsess about your social media performance because the apps provide constant feedback and pressure to grow, but offer you very little control. The social media algorithm is designed to be a lot like a slot machine, and that's on both ends of the consumer-creator divide. Users' most desired posts are often buried deep down in the feed in order to keep them scrolling, and creators are denied consistent access to their audiences or rewards for their performance because inconsistency breeds desperation. This arrangement only benefits advertisers, who get more eyeballs on their sponsored content the more time we all spend online, and social media companies themselves, who lay claim to all of our attention and the AI training data that can be mined from everything that we make on their platforms. Also, Chicago, if you have a favorite mouth sound song, let me know, because I'm curious. I love Floor Corn. Is that one on Mouth Sounds? I think it's on Mouth Sounds. Maybe on Mouth Moods. To cope with their lack of control, many social media users invent rules and tricks for improving engagement that amount to little more than superstition and rumor. Don't use swear words. Censor links or mentions of Patreon. Post when everybody is on their lunch break. Include a picture of your face. There is no evidence to support any of these well-established rules of winning at social media, and many of the biggest quirks of the algorithm are removed the second they are mastered. This one really grinds my gears. Like, there is no evidence that spelling Patreon funny will get you unshadow banned, that saying grape or PDF file is going to favor you in the algorithm. These are things people are making up and then spreading because it gives them the illusion of control over a completely unfair creative landscape. Fixating on short-term metrics and fleeting rules of engagement hijacks the brains of people who would otherwise be focusing on the quality of their writing, photography, or art, or asking themselves deeper questions about how best to inform and persuade the public they're trying to reach. Often, social media is not the best outlet for a communication in the first place. But metrics do provide a handy measure of time spent using an app. The biggest power users are not the people who use social media the best, they're the ones who use it the most. Before Twitter was bought by Elon Musk, I think the statistic was that like 2% of Twitter users are responsible for 99% of posts. It's the people with a problem who drive the traffic. Ultimately, there is very little that you, a single social media creator, can control about the audience that your work finds. And before social media, this was no less true. Success is not based on effort or merit. We're in a capitalist world. Humans are biased. Success has never been determined by effort or merit. A few decades ago, the success of a play that you wrote would have depended on the number of wealthy friends that you had and a bolt of luck. And today it's determined by a digital manifestation of the exact same. Ultimately, we will all write absolute banger posts that flop because they came out at the wrong day or time, or the right people didn't see them, and have ideas that people aren't yet ready for. I could be pissed that my takes on narcissism and AI didn't take off, but Sarah Zed's and Alex Avila's did. Or I can just be happy that the right ideas won out in time. Shout out also to Elliot Song, who I know has expressed similar frustrations to me, where he has made a lot of great videos questioning the demonization of personality disorders. And he was ahead of the curve on that. And now more people are ready for that conversation. And it can be really frustrating when you know that you likely had a positive influence on those people who are now saying critical things about personality disorder pathologization. And maybe they didn't agree with you when they first saw your take on it, but they're getting the credit. They're getting the clout. But clout is a fickle thing. You know, like my writing about laziness, people could say, oh, that's basically just Bertrand Russell's In Praise of Idleness. And they're not wrong. Nothing that we create is fully unique. It all happens within a time and prior context. And sometimes there's just a quirk of phrasing and timing that strikes and hits a chord. And it doesn't mean that the stuff that didn't hit a chord is worse quality. It just means there's so much shit out there. It's not always going to be a banger. Chicago says, I gotta say Melt Everyone pops into my head way more than any other tracks. I also used to hate Santana's Smooth, but Neil got me to like it. And that's the magic of sampling. Yes. Busting, obviously, is probably the most famous Neil Cicerega mashup song. Bustin' makes me feel good. Freaky Ghost Bed. Some of you may have heard that, even if you don't know Neil Cicerega's oeuvre. Yeah. The way you and Elliot express with how the way people talk about narcissism is like how I get frustrated when people online talk about schizophrenic people. Yeah, people, I really hate how a lot of, especially communist people talk about schizophrenia. They use schizophrenic to mean something completely different. And they're just imitating writers from like 70 years ago who had a totally different understanding of schizophrenia and like didn't care about ableism because it was a different time. And it's so annoying. Like, I hate the way people talk about psychosis and schizophrenia. It's very frustrating. Shout out to psychosis positivity. Being able to flop with grace and continue making things anyway is the mark of lasting creativity. And it comes naturally if you are posting because you want to post, rather than posting as a means to an end. Everything tracks back to tip number 1. Only do this shit because you want to and you enjoy it, even if nothing ever comes of it. The Delulu thing is really annoying. For myself, I will talk about being deluded and crazy because I do genuinely experience those things and I find it cathartic. But putting that on another person is so ableist and horrible. And the way people use it is very thoughtless. This is another Canva infographic. It's just black box with white text. The Clementine Morgan special. And it says, a true artist can flop extravagantly, then keep on creating. And I believe this. Flopping is a skill. If you can flop and keep making things, then you have developed a certain kind of creative resilience that I think is very important. I think we are all going to make things that we pour our hearts into, that were excellent, that were the best we could have made it at the time, or as sincere an effort as they could have been. And like, just because you tried hard doesn't mean you're going to get an audience. Just because you have a following doesn't mean they're going to like the thing you make. Just keep making the thing. Like, you have to have belief in your own creativity, or at least the drive to create. Like, find whatever way to listen to that, even if it's making things privately. Like, don't lose that spark. I'm not losing sleep over it, but it's just another symptom of people being thoughtless. Yes. Yeah. They really don't think through the implications of it, and they don't really think that, like, crazy, mad, delusional, psychotic people are among them, and that those people have thoughts and judgments and experiences that are worth listening to, and competencies. And it sucks. It really sucks. Even in like the kink world, you see it sometimes where people will say, oh, if you have borderline, you can't do kink. Or if you have bipolar, you can't be trusted to do kink. Or if you have, like, calling people narcissists and so on. I was really happy that in the consent and neurodiversity panel that I went to at Beguiled, there was a person in the crowd who mentioned that, like, if somebody describes themselves as an empath, she sees that as a red flag. And that was such a relief to hear. Like, because most of the time people still believe in that empath versus narcissist, like, abuser dichotomy. So it was really nice to see someone who didn't believe in that. Tip number 3, accept that nobody owes you anything. I see a lot of established social media users crashing out over the fact that all the labor they put into building their brands doesn't necessarily translate into things like sales, subscriptions, event attendance, jobs, or really any other outcome beyond getting more likes and follows on social media. They've been fed a lie that all the unpaid work they've invested in generating free content will somehow pay off for them. But in actuality, all that they have done is condition a steadily growing user base to expect free content from them. I fall prey to this too. When my first book came out, I assumed that the viral success of the essay that had inspired it would guarantee good book sales. I thought 3 million people read this essay. That means maybe millions will buy the book. Oh my God, can you imagine? 3 million people had read Laziness Does Not Exist. By the time my second and third books came out, my following was even larger, and I felt certain I would sell at least as many copies as I had followers. So at the time, 50,000, 70,000, what have you. This did not happen. In fact, my follower count had no clear relationship to my book sales at all. Neither did the media that I did. Nothing in my control was associated with book sales. The thing that made Unmasking Autism really take off is that the TikToker Patrick Lawler posted about my book, and that went viral. Their TikTok video about it went viral. It was about, like, genderqueer identity and autism. It went viral, and that gave the sales a spike. So it was nothing that was ever in my control. And that's because following someone on social media, where everything is free and accessible, is very different from going to a bookshop, searching for a new release from an author, and purchasing it with your own money. I should have never expected the people who opened up Instagram and hit like on my 100-word rants every day to be the same people to shell out $27 for a hardcover book. Social media users are not big readers, to put it mildly. The fact is, the people who follow you on social media aren't there because they are fans of you. They are fans of being on social media. They would be following other accounts and liking and sharing other content if you were not there to provide it. They are looking for a short-term entertainment in the palm of their hand because they are bored on the toilet, stuck in bed with a chronic illness, unemployed and can't afford to go to the movies, or pissed at their spouse and trying to ignore them over dinner. They are not as into you as you might think they are, and are not as influenced by you as you hope. Many a digital content creator comes to this revelation after they try to sell tickets to a guided tour of Athens with some predatory influencer outing company, or quit their job to launch a Substack and come out of it penniless because they fell for all the bluster and self-importance of their brand. But each of us follows dozens, if not thousands, of self-created brands. I'm not even paying for most of the creatives that I like. Are you? Have people seen these influencer outings things? It's so strange to me. It's so creepy and parasocial. Like and you'll see like relatively small accounts, like people with like 10,000 followers will be like, hey guys, here's this code to like join me on a trip to this country and we'll like travel together. It's like selling the illusion of having a friendship with the creator by buying a really expensive vacation package where you and a bunch of other fans will like sometimes like see that influencer with you like on a tour or like at a restaurant. It's something like that feels like from a completely different planet to me, because who the fuck has the money to like, and the interest to like go on a trip with an influencer they like? It's like, it's just so outside of my realm of experience. Who has that kind of money and time? I see a lot of visual artists on YouTube going to Japan and Korea with like 8 to 10 people. Yeah, and those are people who are paying like $5,000 to $10,000 who are fans to like go with the influencer. And this is something that's already bottomed out. Like the money that was going to be made on this has already been made on it, but people are still trying. And like, I just feel like something bad is going to happen there. You know, either a fan is going to have really, really weird boundaries or expectations for it and be freaked out or be creepy, or the influencer is going to prey on fans and like sexually assault somebody or something. Like the power dynamics and the intimacy with a bunch of people that you have no rapport with is unreal to me. And it just seems so like naive for some of these influencers who are themselves like, 26 years old. Suddenly they have 10,000 followers, that they're still treating the way they treat their friends. And then they're going to go like be in a hotel alone with these people. And like, what do those people expect from them? Like, what is the relationship here? This is fucking unreal. I think like back in the old days of like meetups where like somebody who was internet famous would just say like, hey, I'm going to be at this park, come say hi. Like, I think that can be okay. You have to have very specific bounds on, I'm going to be here in this public place at this time. It's going to be, a place where I can enter and exit, and people are going to socialize with each other, not just me. Like, I don't know. This stuff gets scary. The best way to approach creation online, then, is with an air of detachment, making things and contributing to conversations purely for the joy of it. Again, see tip number 1. Are you having fun? Not with any expectation of an outcome. Then, if a positive outcome does ever happen, it will be a pleasant surprise rather than an obligation you have to keep going. Hello, Story Soup Dumpling, who says, I'm working on outlining a sort of metafictional novel about a closeted queer content creators, maladaptive daydreaming, and parasocial relationships, all meshed together. So I'm stoked on this Substack article. That's amazing. I've been working on a novel since last year about someone who starts out as a live journal user in the 2000s and eventually becomes like an Instagram famous infographic creator. And of course, there's lots of queer angst in it. So we're on similar wavelengths here. Like, there's a lot of interesting things to be done in this topic area. And I think a lot of us are making sense of it through our art. And I need to get back to that novel. Please leave your thoughts, leave comments. I want to hear more about your thoughts on this stuff and the work you're working on. The Live Journal definitely molded my social media use in my formative years. Yes, I was eating disorder posting and 2D Murdoch / fic posting. Very violent / fic. Good shit. Here is a meme. It's the original meme is I think I want to be unemployed. I want to be unemployed, but I want money. It's a young, kind of light brown skinned man. In the first panel, he's looking down. I want to be unemployed, and then he's looking at the camera with like these red eyes. But I want money, and I've changed it to say I want to practice detachment, but I want. Very anti-stoic of me. Tip number 4, remember your followers are not your friends. And you are not your followers' friend. And your friends are not your followers. Remember all 3 of those things. Your followers are not your friends. You are not your followers' friends. Your friends are not your followers. The circle of boundaries. Social media rewards parasociality, the artificial sense of a close relationship between a creator and their audience that gets fed when a creator shares intimate details about their personal life and encourages fans to form an emotional attachment to them. Far too often, parasociality is spoken about as if it is a sin committed by the audience. They projected onto their idol far too hard and formed a fake emotional link based on desperation and delusion. How pathetic, right? But creators encourage parasocial bonds with their audiences by doing things like saying that they love their followers, giving their fans a collective name, revealing intimate details about their lives, making promises to their audiences about the type of person they will be and the kinds of content they will deliver, sharing images of their partners, pets, and children, treating fan disappointment as if it's a tension in a genuine relationship, presenting themselves as a symbol of a larger group or struggle, and claiming their personal pages are a meaningful community. These gestures of closeness and commitment can convince fans to invest more attention and money in an influencer. Getting a private look into another person's life is seductive. Forming the illusion of a bond brings comfort to the lonesome and cast aside. Influencers pick up on this enthusiasm and mistake it for closeness themselves, or they just profit from it, and the boundaries between their brand and their actual self begin to fray. They might make themselves readily available to as many followers as they can in private messages, comments, and Discord channels, or use their followings for emotional support until it's unclear even to them who is truly their friend. So there's lots of talk on the internet about fans being parasocial. Oh, you think you know this person. Oh, you care too much about this person having perfect politics. You're treating disappointments as if it's a real relationship. How dare you? You're being parasocial. You're being parasocial. You're so pathetic. Okay, there's bad boundaries there, sure. But how many times have y'all seen a person with a large following, let's say 10K plus, because 10,000 people looking at your business is a lot of fucking people. Let us not forget. I joke and call that low B numbers, but that's low B, high B numbers, right? Like that's 10,000 people knowing your shit. That's crazy. That's not good. And somebody in that position will post like, oh, I'm in this town and I'm lost. Does anybody want to help me like find my way? Does anybody want to walk with me to this bookstore? Or, oh, I'm looking for this kind of medical procedure. Does anybody have any advice? Or, oh, I'm selling some clothes out of my house. Does anybody on my list of 10,000 followers or anyone who publicly views my story want to buy these boots that I'm reselling? Like, I have seen people with like upwards of 50K followers do that exact thing. it's 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 not good. Um, Edge Peasant said, talking about the Piscord in terms of, I have a cool community in the Piscord, and here's what we talked about the other day that's relevant and interesting. Yeah, I think it's a bunch of very nice acquaintances. Yeah, I think, and the Piscord, I think, is like, because there is a tension here, because it's like, I like Waluigi Bowser, Edge Peasant, like I recognize your names. I remember things that we've talked about. I know a few things about you. We have real conversations about things we're interested in. It is, I think, acquaintanceship is, I think, a fair way to say it, right? Like, and I have had social media like follower turned mutual turned acquaintance turned friend. Those things are a possibility. Those things happen, and when they happen, it happens naturally, because like, oh wow, you're interested in this thing too. Let's talk about it. Like, we've both proven through repeated interactions that we have an understanding of boundaries that is reasonable, and it just kind of evolves. Versus if someone comes at you with the energy of, oh, I'm such a fan. I feel like I know you. I feel like we're friends. You're letting me down. You need to talk to me in depth about all these things. Like, you need to be available for me. Um, or on my side, oh, these people are being nice to me. They really know me. They really care about me when I don't know them. You know, both sides of that are just as unrealistic. And a lot of creators rely on their followings for social contact, and that's not great. Um, and 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 these things can become friends, right? Like, there are people on the Piscord who live in the same city as each other who have met up and done things together. Or there are people who have taken their conversation. There are people that have visited each other off the Piscord, but that's because of their personal relationship. You know, it's not me. It's not the Piscord. It's not like, anything like that. It's, they met in this space based on a degree of shared values and interests, and then they invested in talking privately off the Piscord, getting to know each other, and then one of them offering to the other, hey, you want to come visit me? You can come and stay at my house. Like, we've talked enough for months privately. We know each other personally, and we can have that kind of relationship. And I really believe that every relationship between two people is different. So there is no clear, fast rule between, like, this is a friend, this is an acquaintance. There are aspects of the relationship itself that you can describe, right? What are things that me and this person have done together? How do we know each other? How well do we know each other? What do I want to have come out of this relationship? And what am I available to give? And that's part of why having a large social media following is imbalanced. There are a lot of really fucking cool people who I hear from online, and I can't talk to all of them. It's just the numbers just don't work out that way, and I'm not always that consistently social. But a lot of those people have become friends with each other on the Piscord, or acquaintances, you know? So, like, when we say, oh, these things are acquaintances, or, oh, they're not my friend, that's not to disparage what connection is there. It just means, like, that's, the nature of the relationship currently is what it is. And people come in and out of our lives in all kinds of ways. I have former students that I'm friends with. That was not an intentional plan. That would have been weird if it was, but they were in my class. We had shared values and interests. We got along well and appropriately in the bounds of that class. And then eventually I met them in another social context, and we got to know each other better. And then we're friends, And there are people that I've met through online stuff where, some of the people in this chat that we talk privately more, and have more of a relationship, or have met up in person. And that's great. So it's understandable why this stuff's confusing for people, including on the, like, creator side of things. But a lot of people really take advantage. A lot of creators really take advantage of how confusing this stuff can be. And they rely on their followings themselves for support. And like, I really enjoy having conversations with people on here. I'm getting something socially and emotionally out of it. Like, that's real. But I'm also not profiting off of it, which is, I think, also helps make it a little less slimy. But, consistency, knowing a lot of information about one another, mutuality, those things really help. Oh, let's see. This one's going to be hard to, oops. I want to read this great chat message, but it's going to be hard to read because of the scroll. Just because it's a little big on my screen. I scroll all the way down. My book is going to be focused on a stealth trans guy who's been a popular YouTuber for a while and his growing anxiety around maintaining or deliberately ending his stealthness, as well as anxiety about having potentially exposed too much of his private life online and allowing parasocial relationships with much younger people to grow. He has a lot of internalized transphobia and slightly toxic masculinity. Yo, that sounds like a great book. Oh my God. Trans andro bro, not exactly, but stealth bro, toxicity book. I love that. Yeah. I want to hear more. Feel free to DM me about that. I would read that. We need more books about evil trans guys. Or, complex. My book that I'm working on, my novel, the pitch is Laura Palmer transitions into Patrick Bateman. So, evil trans guy books. But like if he was an influencer instead of like a stockbroker or whatever. That's the concept. If somebody beats me, complex, Patrick Bateman. Because Patrick Bateman is one of my blorbos. He's baby girl. These gestures of closeness and commitment can convince fans to invest more attention and money in an influencer. Can't you see it? Influencer Patrick Bateman. Can't you see the vision? This is like books that, like, if somebody scoops me and writes it better than I could write it, great. But no, literally, Story Soup Dumpling, your idea sounds fantastic. Send me shit. Like, I want to hear about it. Send me drafts. Like, ask me to blurb it, whatever. Like, let's talk. And this is another thing to go on more tangents. Like, the smaller the window of contact is, like if there's a smaller audience, it's easier to have a genuine connection. So the Piscord is, a couple hundred people, but only really a handful are active. So we get to know each other and can build friendships. These streams, it's more like being in a small classroom, and you can kind of get to know all of the people in your classroom if it's a small classroom and have real relationships. And those things can happen. And yeah, Waluigi Bowser, like maybe we should make like a channel. Some Discord servers have this, like a permission to DM channel where you can just add somebody and say, hey, you were talking about this subject. Do I have permission to DM you to talk about Minecraft or whatever? Or to post like, hey, I want somebody I can chat with about Minecraft. DM me, something like that. That's what the Beguiled server has. That's how it kind of maintains boundaries for people. No, the concept is really cool, Story Soup Dumpling. You should write it. I say, having written a first draft, and I have to throw it all out and start over again in my view, but like, do the thing. It sounds amazing. Oh, okay. It doesn't help that most new influencers typically start off with small, intimate feeling followings and a desperation to grow their pages. So they adopt an intimate approach to posting that simply does not scale once you have tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people following you. Spamming your Instagram stories with photos of your romantic partner, half-nude selfies, and rants about your shitty boss plays just fine when you have only 2,000 people following you, which is still a lot. That's still a lot of people. But if you keep blasting the same intimate details into the ether at 100,000, you're going to get fired, stalked, or broken up with. And some of us got all three, baby. Love it. So you got to be aware of what you're risking. And this is part of why I've moved to Tumblr so much. I only have about 10,000 followers or 12,000 or something on Tumblr. Followers don't matter on Tumblr. It's a quieter room. And so I can engage more with people. I'm safer at a distance. I have to like go hide in a bog. And if somebody goes to the trouble of finding me in the bog and sits down by the bog and says, hey, do you want to talk about Armand, the vampire Armand? Then I can poke my head out of the bog and say, yes, let's be friends. And that's how it goes. And you can do that too. You do not need to be a famous influencer to make friends. In fact, it's better if you're not. Just like be someone's reply guy in a normal way. Like just say, hey, the art you're making is really cool. If you ever want to talk about this thing, let's talk about this thing. You got to watch Vampire Interview. It's so gay. It's so good. And it does amazing commentary on racial dynamics. It's actually really, really good at it. I mean, I know I'm a white person, so, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But like they were really intentional about it. It just, it's good. It's good. It's gay. It's fun. I love it. This is a video by Shannon Strucci at Strucci Movies. Fake Friends. These are video essays about parasocial relationships and taking as case studies Bo Burnham, Jacksepticeye, and a bunch of other internet public figures. My Neil Cicierega post is featured in this video and that discourse. And it is just a really fantastic reflection on parasociality. There's also a video that PhilosophyTube Abigail Thorne did with Shannon Strucci, also about parasocial relationships, that really was a turning point in how PhilosophyTube started approaching fan relationships, and also has been a really strong influence on me in the boundaries that I set, because she talked a lot about how she went about drawing a line in the sand between herself and her fans. And she is somebody who has not had any kind of big public crash outs or beef with people or cancellations, even when people have talked really mad, evil shit about her. Like, it has not affected her publicly in any way. And it's because she's been so smart about how she handles it. So, and my next post on what to do if you get canceled will touch on this too. But if you're interested in parasocial discourse, Shannon Strucci's videos on the subject are the foundational text. Well worth a watch. And then watch Abigail Thorne's. And then come back here. What many influencers fail to understand is that a good portion of their social media followers are not, in fact, dedicated fans who want only the best for them, but bored rubberneckers who follow a litany of accounts with completely contradictory views, just to see who is going to launch an interesting new plot line next. Subreddits like Blog Snark make this all too apparent. I'm not immune to it. I've sat in on live stream accountability sessions between two social justice influencers that I followed and hated in equal measure, simply to see what would come of the mess. Some celebrities I follow less like an acolyte and more like a hunter. It is simply not safe to broadcast all of your unvarnished opinions and photos of the outside of your home. Not ever, but especially not when there's more people watching you than you could ever know in a lifetime. It's ridiculous that we've come to view this kind of behavior as normal. And I say this stuff knowingly being hypocritical. I have blasted The View from my back porch. Like, I have blasted bad takes. Like, once it's on the internet, you are no longer in control of what happens to it. You can never take it back. You can never say, I don't consent to it being shared, and have that mean anything. Like, it's out there. It's been shared. If you're posting a lot, you probably do have your favorite followers, and attention on the internet probably does help meet your social emotional needs. But if you do not know a fan just as well as they know you, you cannot trust a thing they say. No matter how normalized it might be to share everything about yourself with an entire internet of strangers, parasociality emotionally manipulates the audience into an artificial social bond and transforms the creator into an object of fantasy. So it is a dual manipulation. We are both like making out with the cave shadows of each other on the wall, which is a little bit hot, but you got to make sure you treat people, the actual human beings, right. And that begins with boundaries. Boundaries keep us all safe. And it doesn't mean a lack of interest in connection. It just means here are the rules of engagement that will allow that interaction to be better for everyone. So make sure to be conscious of the multi-layered dynamics of power and vulnerability that you are dabbling with, and make careful decisions about how you will keep yourself safe. Which leads us to the next tip. 5. No one will maintain your boundaries for you. Black text on a green, like ombre background. Maintain your own boundaries. When I was first entering the Instagram influencer game, I engaged with just about anyone. I answered questions, shared resources, chatted for hours about weighty, emotional, and political topics, and would fight with anybody in the comments about damn near anything, and usually share screenshots of those debates on my feed, fishing for praise. In the depths of pandemic lockdown, I was frustrated and bored, and these interactions felt productive. It was educational. It was fighting bigotry. It was brand development. I would come to hate nearly everyone that I interact with online, aside from my actual friends, and developed such a bad stress response that for years afterward, I felt sick and attacked every time I got any notification on my phone. At a certain scale, making yourself available to social media followers simply becomes impossible. Social scientific evidence suggests that human beings cannot maintain community relationships with more than 150 people or so, and that we can't really put more than 1,500 faces to names. Vivzy Pop when she gets criticized. Angry face emoji. I don't know that creator, but I can definitely sub in a lot of creators that I do know who think everything is a persecution of them because they're reading too many takes about their takes. A relationship is only possible when two individual people both know one another well, operate within the same social context, and both have the ability to affect each other's lives. We can't have this relationship to our followers, or with more than a handful of people. You can with an individual follower, who you get to know, see repeatedly in a shared social context, and get a real relationship with, but not with your follower list. But what social media can create for us is the sensation of being ostracized by thousands of people with whom we don't actually share a bond. Our brains can't tell the difference between an irate fan and the risk of actual social death. That's why some of the most wealthy and successful influencers of all time respond to reasonable critique as if they are being martyred. Well, that and the massive, disgusting degree of self-involvement that being famous online pretty much requires. I can certainly think of certain YouTube creators who I really like the work of who have done this kind of thing. Or Instagram influencers. I'll just say Clementine Morgan because that's an easy one. Has been hotel creator. Somehow that does not surprise me. I don't know a ton about them, but not the biggest revelation in the world. You cannot expect your followers to respect how overwhelmed the job that you have chosen, and that does not pay and that you do not have to be doing, makes you. From their perspective, they remain individuals trying to connect and have a conversation with another person. Whereas to you, the influencer, the audience has become a massive horde of threats and impossible to satisfy demands. The only solution is to maintain your own boundaries, placing firmer restrictions on the amount of feedback you take in and respond to. Boundaries are a thing you do, not other people. A few years ago, I realized that I no longer had the time nor desire to read through every single comment a random person might leave on my social media posts. I didn't want to engage, I didn't want to moderate it at all, or determine which messages had any merit. It seemed absurd to spend hours each day filling my head with the feedback of thousands of people, many of whom hadn't even fully read the posts they were commenting on. Why should I give all of these strangers a free platform to share their messages? How the hell was I supposed to decide which questions to answer, which ones to ignore, which suicidal person in my inbox would get a reassuring word before I got so stressed I wanted to die myself? Truthfully, I didn't want to hear any of it at all. At that point, I decided to turn off all my social media comments and DMs, and I have never looked back. This is a piece from that time, why I turned off comments and DMs on Medium. It's from March of 2022. Wow, so 3 years ago. I'm a far less angry, reactive person now that I'm not flooded with the emotional projections and knee-jerk reactions of hundreds of thousands of strangers. Have fun at your singing lesson, Edge Peasant. Talk to you later. I no longer see my audience as a horde storming the battlements. I feel mostly in control of the time that I spend on social media and adopt the post and ghost method. I share what I want when I want to, then I log off immediately without looking at any metrics or feedback. Yeah, it was a long time ago that I turned off comments, and like I'm lucky that I did it before I got to a situation where I had to, you know? Like I didn't get canceled or whatever. I didn't have a crash out. I just did it because I could see like that it was going to head that way, you know? Like I was going to just be really bitter. I already am bitter. I don't need help being negative. It's already bad. I know that I have chosen a blunter instrument than many other influencers have, but every time I see someone with a 200K follower account agonizing because a few random jerk-offs in their inbox told them playing fetch with their dog is animal abuse, or demanding they explain why they were unmasked at the beach one time, I'm relieved at having made my choice. You can always tell somebody's really going through it when they're like responding publicly to what they imagine is the whole audience is mad at them, when it's like they got a few angry messages. Like, dog, you can ignore that. If you're struggling to maintain healthy boundaries with your audience or constantly feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, I strongly recommend turning off all notifications from people you do not follow. That's the Abigail Thorne method. Shout out to Philosophy Tube. You can turn off notifications from people you are not following. Like, so on Twitter, like if somebody says something to me, unless I already follow that person, I will never see the reply, the retweet, the quote, any of it. The at, I do not see it. I only see notifications from people I follow. On Instagram, I don't see shit unless I look for it. So then I'm in control of it. Restricting who can comment or DM you, and reminding yourself that you have been making a choice to interact, and you can choose to stop. This is the aspect of mindfulness that I do find appealing. Mindfulness in the sense of realizing I am in this reality right now. I am playing this video game in this moment. I can make choices right now and be responsible for them, about what I do and what I pay attention to. Like, this is not all just happening to me. I can change things. Jack off hits harder than jag off or jerk off. I like jag off. It's so because of my friend Michael Polino. May he rest in peace. But they're all good. If you're having to spend hours each day even deciding which messages to respond to, you're already taking in far, far too much social data. All that time you're devoting to comment moderation and random chatting could be spent on creating something intentionally that would reach more people. Furthermore, as your number of followers grows, so will the amount of harassment and annoying nonsense you deal with, and you will not be able to behave with followers in the ways that you once did. I understand that this sucks, and it might go against the image you have of yourself as an approachable, sociable person who is doing all of this posting for the public good. It doesn't matter. You're a human being, not a free online course. And be honest with yourself. You are posting for you, so you might as well fucking enjoy it. Walter White. I did it for me. I was good at it. I liked it. And really, I was alive. If you can say that about your posting, then great. Another Canva infographic. Beige background with a white box and large text in a serif font saying, "Do you want to be famous or do you want to have friends?" Ask yourself, do I want to be famous or do I just want friends? A lot of us are hyper online because we're filled with a drive to connect that knows no other outlet. I understand this better than anyone. I spent essentially my entire 20s on Tumblr, posting through waves of eating disorder relapse and suicidal depression when I wasn't desperately Googling things like how to make friends and is there any way I can make myself die with the power of my mind? I had nobody and no understanding of how to open up to people. The internet was my refuge. On Tumblr, I could be witty and express all that bothered me without ever being interrupted. Escaping the self that I hated so much was as simple as changing my username and avatar. For as maladaptive and frankly sad as my posting back then could be, it also kind of worked. I got acquainted with lots of other young writers online, and we traded drafts and built friendships I still cherish 15 years later. If you've heard me talk about my friend Mel, she was a Tumblr mutual in Ohio who I kind of convinced to move out here to get away from Ohio, and now she's one of my closest friends, and I have several friends like that that I got to know through the Tumblr writing community. The eating disorder recovery and fat liberation blogs that I stumbled upon slowly taught me how to nourish myself. Some of the most pitiful laments that I posted drew a response from people who resonated with it. And when they used words like gender dysphoria and dissociation, I started to find my way out of despair. It was because of the internet that I figured out I was trans, gay, kinky, and autistic. No. Actually, it was thanks to the people that I found in these spaces that I survived. Many of us become hyperactive social media users because we want desperately to connect. In the depths of our isolation, we reach out in the only way that feels safe. And it works, because the world is filled with other human beings who are longing to be understood, too. We are on the verge of building something that is beautiful. And then we are convinced by social media companies that actually it is our posts that are special, not our connections. We learn that our goal is not to connect with others, but to build our followings, to make something profitable and impressive from that desperate longing that almost set us free. It is so easy to lose the plot. We started out searching for the feeling of being beloved, of being appreciated, but at some point became convinced that having an audience would satisfy that. We wanted a safe place to be vulnerable. Now we stand before the void and expose all the details of our hospitalization in exchange for a few subscriptions. Sometimes I see confessional social media posts that make me cringe with self-recognition. A polyamory influencer with hundreds of thousands of followers shares that being chronically unsatisfied in her marriage is really good for her, actually, and that says something universal about anxious attachment. A zine maker goes on a live stream and gossips about a competitor she once loved. A writer justifies her relapse and passes it off as wisdom. Use the name of my dead dog at checkout for a 15% discount. This is a screenshot from an actual Instagram that an influencer posted. The messy truth about non-linear love. Why I'm back with my ex after 3 breakups. And when I saw this shit, I was like, oh, girl, this should have stayed in the drafts. You do not need to make a Substack post about your messy life and try to mine it for wisdom. Like, you're back with your ex. I get it. I'm sure the sex goes crazy. I'm sure it's very emotionally intense. I'm sure you guys have your reasons. That's none of my business. It does not say something universal about the messy truth of non-linear love. Like, you don't need to make content out of everything in your life when it's still fresh. And of course, I was feeling these things about this creator. I have done this exact same shit. Like, I am judging myself when I'm judging this person. I am embarrassed of myself when I think, ooh, this person should have left this one in the drafts, honey. That's what I should have done a great many times. Give it some years before you write about it. I once got a piece of advice that you should never write about a relationship that you want to keep. And there's truth to that. There really is. I have done things like this more times than I can count, and I'm regretful at ever having done it. Treating my social media presence like it was a private conversation with a best friend has damaged several of my closest relationships irreparably. Instead of mining the tensions in my family and the end of a 10-year relationship for content when it was fresh, I should have just sat down and cried. It was being heard and supported that I needed. None of this raw, desperate personal shit was remotely ready to be broadcasted where it can never be deleted or forgotten. I think another rule that is useful, don't write about any relationship you want to keep. Don't write about something until like at least a year has passed since it happened. Insert your own timeline because some of us need more time than that. But is there a messy truth to that? The messy truth about me posting too much about posting. Why I'm still online even though I know it's evil. I have not escaped my compulsion toward digital confession, but I do feel the tides changing. The younger generation of social media users seem to get more skeeved out by oversharing, and many of the creators that I used to parasocially cathect onto, like the McElroys, have long stopped claiming to be holding their followers' hands, as Travis did in 2016. We've all grown suspicious of algorithms and AI, the artifice of faux casual photo dumps. So I think this is a question that a lot of influencers are finally ready to hear. Do you even want to be doing all of this? Or do you just think that you have to? Has all this posting really helped you? Has it been worth what you've traded in privacy and peace? Did you ever really want the thousands of followers? Or did you just want a few real good friends? If so, it's not too late to find them. We can get off all of our stages and find one another in the crowd. Nobody is asking for this performance. We can stop. And that is the piece. If you want to read more of my bullshit, you can go to drdevonprice.substack.com to read it. Hold my hand, please. Hold my hand, Travis, please. I'm scared of the presidential election. Hold my hand, Travis. But that like, we make fun of, creators like that now, but the culture has evolved. One of the people that Shannon Strucci talks about in her Fake Friends video, Jacksepticeye, right here, she profiles as someone who is way too, at the time of this making, invested in his followers' approval, emotional investment, mutual emotional investment with followers that's not really possible, incredibly sensitive, not many boundaries with his followers and with his online life. In the time since this video came out, which goodness, let's see what year it was. It's many years ago. No. 6 years ago. Jacksepticeye is not like that now. He has much better boundaries with his fans. He found out he's autistic, so got another one, fellas. And the culture has changed. The McElroys used to be, oh, we're your good boys. I'm, kiss your dad on the mouth. I'm holding your hand through the podcast channels. Here you're going to hear all of our family nicknames that we have for each other. And now they're like, no, we don't know y'all. Like, we make an entertainment. You don't know us. I think now even Travis is like, don't call me by my family nickname. Like, we used to talk about each other in terms of our family nickname on the show, but like, I don't want to be called that anymore, which is his right. People make fun of him, but he's right. Maybe he had bad boundaries in the past, but we all did who were making this stuff. Like, the norms were very different 10 years ago than they are now. That last paragraph was so simple but so true. Like, what do we actually want to and like doing? Yeah, like, I like writing about what I like writing about. I lose followers. Like, I lose paying subscribers. People want me to write about, like, productivity and autism stuff. I like writing about those things, but I like writing about sex and kink and myself and social media and, like, all these, like, these things that are just, like, stimulating to my brain. And, like, I don't, like, it's more valuable to me to have the conversations I want to be having, like, that's all it is. Like, it's more sustainable that way. and you don't go and you stay more like agile creatively and like alive, you know? And then you're not going to be resentful of people and weird. And I understand that it's like easier to say that when you already have a built-in following and some of them are finding your stuff and going with you. But like the way that I got to that point was just by creating a ton of shit all the time. Like some of those memes took off. A lot of things didn't. A lot of pieces of writing didn't. But I still can look back on things that I wrote years ago and say like, no, I really killed it with that. Like whether it had a big following or not, I'm glad I made that thing, you know? And like that's true for like, I wrote novels, I had a fiction podcast, I made a lot of different things that are very obscure and nobody fucked with and that were kind of shitty and just not fully formed. But exercising creativity is such an empowering thing, and social media has taken so much of that away from us. Hot take, I don't believe in cancel culture. Y'all just hate accountability, especially when a content creator gets called out for the ableism and ableist language. What accountability, though? I believe you have to actually be in community with people to be held accountable by them. I think most of the time, I think online cancellations happen. There is a phenomenon of a bunch of people who are talking about a person, spreading sometimes outright lies about a person if they're marginalized. This happens to trans women a lot. And that person gets lots of negative comments, death threats, stalking. They lose their job. They feel social rejection. They are rejected out of their actual communities. Like these things do happen. Like it is not deniable that these things do happen. It mostly happens to trans women and women of color. And especially if somebody's both, then she really gets screwed. People do get canceled. Those things do happen. And sometimes they happen based on complete nonsense. And also there are people who do abusive things who, because they are powerful, nobody takes it seriously when an accusation happens. And instead it's the accuser who gets attacked. And there's a whole spectrum in there of different things that happen. That are like undeniable that they happen. But I have not seen too many attempts at publicly holding a person accountable that have gone all that great. Because if you're famous, you are not accountable to your fans, really. Like you can lose subscriptions, but that's not gonna that's not the same thing as justice, you know. Like, so I'm gonna write a post. I've already written some of it that is gonna go up probably next week, about what to do if you do get canceled online, because I've seen so many people are terrified of that happening to them all the time. So many trans women in my life have had that happen to them. I've had people who are forced to leave town and forced to leave communities because of bad faith cancellations and things like that. And so I've seen patterns in how you respond to that, that can help or hurt you. And then I also want to make a post about, okay, somebody has wronged you or some institution has wronged you and you want accountability. Is a cancellation or a call out, whatever, is a public accountability process on social media going to be a useful tool for you to do that? And I think there are situations where it is. I think if you're criticizing a institution and you want to spread the word about this institution did something wrong, a public social media campaign can really help. And I've been part of some of those. I've started some of those before. I think if it's a celebrity and you want to spread the word, this celebrity abused people and there's this pattern, you can use social media for that. If you want to discourage people from shopping at Starbucks and McDonald's, you can use social media for that. And sometimes it works. A lot of times it doesn't, but sometimes it works. But if you were sexually assaulted by someone in your local community or domestically abused by someone in your local community and you want to get the word out about that, I have not seen that go well for most survivors, because you're putting yourself out there where you're going to be scrutinized, darvoed, accused of things. You're having to relive the experience over and over again every time people talk about it. You are going to hear from other victims when maybe you're not ready to hold that trauma. And you might go through all of that, and people might turn on you because they like the person you're accusing more than they like you. Or they need that person for some reason. And nothing may happen. And so I think of this stuff very tactically and like cold-bloodedly. Like, is it going to work? You know? And sometimes a cancellation does work to an extent. But is that the same thing as a community holding someone accountable? I don't personally think so. I think, again, you have to have a mutual relationship and a mutual investment in each other to really have true accountability. Otherwise, yeah, violence on the internet, attacks from strangers, I think that's different. Usually that's different than accountability. So, yeah, it's a topic that is very fraught. Obviously, there's all these like anti-cancel culture people like Clementine Morgan who like their whole take on it sucks so bad. And my take is a little bit more like, well, it's a thing, it's a tactic, it's a tool. Yeah, feel free to put a video in the chat. Happy to look into other stuff about this subject, because I will be writing and thinking and talking about it more in the next couple weeks. There were a couple of comments on Substack that I thought were great. Holly Whitaker was very complimentary and supportive, and said something that she liked, that it's very clear that I write what I want and how I want to, rather than following best practices. And I was just really nice. It was just really nice to hear that comes through. What I write is not like optimized for social media. It's long as fuck, and people like the long as fuck shit. Oh, I trust you, Waluigi Bowser, that it's germane to the conversation. Yes, thank you for sharing. Also, a lot of times when people talk about cancellation, they're talking about a variety of different things, right? Like there's making a call-out post publicly. There's telling your friends privately this person sucks. There's the shitty men in media list, and that whole lawsuit. There's so many different tactics. There's a person being kicked out of their local community, and then there's a person being publicly like sent death threats, and those are all really different things. Let's see. There was another recent comment I wanted to highlight. Maggie Holt says, my participation as a content creator on social media has taken forms other than the written word, but the concepts apply just as much. This is the year I've taken a huge step back from all social media, and most definitely from being a regular creator. Really liked the Shannon Strucci video about parasocial hell. This one I really liked. I heard from a lot of like former influencers about this piece, which I really enjoyed. Devaney Amber Wolf says, it really spoke to me on all levels as someone who deactivated their IG of over 100K followers due to the exact forms of overwhelm and lack of boundaries you speak of. And I've been doing a lot of reevaluation over this Instagram free year. What you said about parasociality not just happening to the influencer, but it being a window of intimacy cultivated by the influencer really hit home. I was glad to read this despite the fact that it was confronting. As when I initially left, it was due to severe autistic burnout that was 100% fueled by being 1, a news source, and 2, constantly outputting writer-artist, 3, intimate sharer of myself. I know now that I need to set firmer boundaries overall. I like what you've done in terms of shutting down comments and DMs. I think in order for it to ever be fun again, I would need to not be self-conscious, which would require not being either approved of or torn down by a daily stream of other people's opinions. I really liked that they pointed out here that, like, as a IG, they were expected to be a news source, a outputting artist, and a intimate sharer. Like, that is... You should not be trusting any of us as a news source. Like, yes, I think it is valuable for us to be outspoken about being pro-Palestine, pro-BDS, like, criticizing the American empire, like, sharing things, but like we should not be trusted as a news source, you know, like, and that is something that a lot of people took on, especially from 2020 onwards, that they had an obligation to constantly post about every political and social development. And it's not a bad thing for people to try and use that influence, but one, you have to have realistic expectations of what it's going to do, and then you also have to have realistic expectations of yourself. And this is part of why I've moved a little bit away from talking about as much political and social justice stuff, because frankly, life has humbled me a little. And like, I don't want people to see me as the most trustworthy source on this stuff. Like, I am figuring things out myself with regard to my own anarchism and beliefs on power and institutions. but I don't think you should think that I have the answer to shit. There are a lot of far more seasoned pro-Palestinian activists out there. There are things I do feel qualified to talk on or share learning for me as it happens, but like there's a lot I shouldn't be trusted to be an authority on. Invertebrate Yuri, that's a great name. Hello. Your kink posting has been so inspiring to me to post about my kink interests and incorporate them into my art. Yay! Oh, thank you so much for your kind words. And yes, we need more kinky, nasty art. My again novel that I need to get back to working on is very like CNC erotica, but make it literary in its aspirations, kind of core. Like kinky art, smut, porn is beautiful. Thank you. I worry sometimes people look at all the kink posting and think, oh, like this is such a frivolous use of your time compared to the neurodiversity stuff. And it's like, no, this is the stuff that makes me want to not die, to think about. And when I hear from people that it helps them go out and get laid and explore kink healthily for them and like try new things and feel sexy, like all that stuff, like it really makes me so happy because I even at Beguiled, like being around younger kinksters and seeing how free they are and comfortable and how unneurotic they are in communicating about certain things, sometimes I feel like kind of this left behind feeling of like, oh, I wasted the first 30 years of my life not doing this stuff. But at least I can do something that lets other people not have that same fate. And I can enjoy the time that I do have in this world. I get better and better at it, being a part of it. So thank you. And yes, please keep making kinky art. Skibbity Toilet for the Angry Humanities Educated Set. I'm so glad that I got a like for that. Thank you, Caroline Acella, because that's one of those very self-indulgent lines. Dude, my book explores CNC too. ContraPoint's Twilight video has honestly been a big resource for finding ways to think about that. Oh my god, yes. That's dope. I have some posts on Tumblr about the Twilight ContraPoints thing and like the disavowal of desire. I think that's a reason why a lot of people go to CNC, but personally I do not resonate with it because I am interested in CNC because I'm interested in the NC. Like I am turned on by non-consensual things, including in the past when I have experienced non-consensual things and my like body like involuntarily enjoyed those things and like making sense of that in my mind, it's a very weird thing to feel like your body and your mind are like betraying you. But also it's fucking hot. Like if you can make of it what you can, what meaning and smut you can, it's, we might as well enjoy that lemonade. So a lot of my novel is about growing up in the early 2000s when attitudes around consent and body autonomy were really bad and having these experiences that were really inappropriate and how much that's warped my psyche and sexuality, and how hot that is, like it's awful and it's hot. And let's delve into it. We watch horror movies because we want to see the gunk and the guts and the nastiness. And I see, these works of media like A Fire Walk with Me that have these horrific things that happen. And I'm like, hell yeah, that happened to me. And also it's hot. Like that's just is what it is. Kink and sex positivity or neutrality is so important. Yes. We're just out here forming these associations between stimuli like all animals. Oh, thanks, Alex Index. I gotta actually write the damn book first. This is like a thing you're not supposed to do is talk about a project that you haven't finished. But whatever. I want to talk to more fiction writers, especially trans fiction writers, and make something good and enjoy it. And like, if somebody scoops me and steals the idea and does it better than I could have done it, then great. Then I won't have to do it. So, but I want to do it. But I've been burnt out this year, honey. Let's see if there's anything else in the comments that I wanted to highlight. It's just the holy shit 2 cakes meme. Yes. And we need some T-boys to write some nasty fiction. Davy Davis is art. I just started reading Davy Davis's Casanova 2.0, and it's really good. Right now, it's in the early section of the book, and it's about a boy who is just so inhumanly beautiful that basically everybody he meets tries to sexually assault him. Men, women, teachers, parents, everything. Um, like, it's good. If you like Dennis Cooper, it's very Dennis Cooper coded, like beautiful twink who lives to be abused. But it's definitely kind of a trans boy allegory, even though I think the character is cis, but the author's trans, and it's very T-boy coded, and kind of has similarities to the concept I had for this T-boy Laura Palmer. But that's okay. We're all writing. We all have very similar baggage and interests, and like 2 cakes, 3 cakes, 4 cakes. Lay it on me. Lay it before me. Let's all do a big cake sit on each other's art together. It's all good. Someone in the comments was talking about just the need to make their work digestible or palatable, and how limiting that is. And it's like, well, do you actually have to do that? Or as somebody just told you, that's the way to make a big following. Even if you do need a following to market your shit, sometimes a smaller following is better. People who are actually gonna like ride with you is better. You don't need to appeal to the masses. In the end, all I can do is whatever I can and want to at any given moment, writing or editing or something else entirely, when it feels ready. Don't think for a week and about whether it's okay in the context of everything to write this. Just publish. Yeah, thank you, Waluigi. I've definitely heard people share that perspective before, that cancellation is just public accountability. I think it's probably something that I also used to believe myself as well. Where I am coming from is from seeing a lot of people, especially trans women on Tumblr, get accused of being predators based on nothing, and it really fucking up their lives. And also sometimes seeing people who did make a mistake also because of who they were being seen as more socially disposable and having lots of consequences for that. And I have also seen in my local community somebody who had a pattern of abusing people by making accusations about them that were intentionally vague. So I think it's such a lightning rod topic that everybody has strong feelings about because they've seen horrible people get away with stuff. They've seen communities that have been mistreated try to do something to find justice, and they've probably seen these tools also misused. So it's a topic that people have really strong feelings about, and there's also a lot of really bad faith actors, like your Clementine Morgans, who think any criticism online is a cancellation, and it's not, you know? So I do understand a little bit of where sometimes people are coming from when they say it's not cancellation, it's accountability. I would say that, cancellation is a thing that exists in the world. Like, I think it happens. Public accountability happens. Sometimes those things meet. And I think we all have experiences of witnessing it happen to people, or witnessing justice failing to be doled out, that make it a really intense conversation, and one that is worth having because it is so. It's important to a lot of us and like people we care about who never got justice or accountability, or who got abused. People are kind of talking about just getting stressed out by even just getting notifications for their Reddit posts. Emmeline Taylor says, I have 2 blogs, and I realized in the past 6 to 12 months that I don't need to have a consistent blogging schedule. No one cares. I only have so much consistency available, and it needs to go to myself, looking after my kid, my relationship. Once I realized posting was for fun, self-expression, sharing my thoughts, collating my work, I didn't have to make money from it, and I was unlikely to ever do so anyway. Then it was a weight lifted. Yeah, capitalism really messes shit up. Cleo Bricks is always leaving banger comments. Hello, Cleo. I think it's in Dawn of Everything where Graeber talks about people forming virtual communities far beyond the range of physical interaction, ever since there were people. Yeah, in Dawn of Everything, they talk about how people were trying to leave their communities and meet other people and get away from their families and like write letters for as long as they've been able to. So there's been an internet long before the internet. The things you're describing to me sounds like violence on the internet rather than cancel culture. I disagree. I think if somebody's saying I'm trying to cancel this person, that is what that is. You know, like that is a thing that happens. Harassment campaigns sometimes happen. Sometimes people do want to cancel people. Like I personally think like rhetorically, there's no reason to deny that those things don't happen. Even if like, yeah, like a lot of things get called cancellations that are, oh, somebody disagreed with me. You know, like I can think of a lot of YouTubers that I really like, but who cannot handle having public fandoms, who are like, I was canceled for having this take. And it was like, no, people just disagreed with you. Like, that's not the same thing. And, you know, truth be told, I have not seen public accountability go well very often, because a lot of times people are doing it for the sake of managing their public impression. So I'm always curious to hear people's thoughts on what real accountability looks like in a social media space. Is it possible? What does it look like? What's an example of it having happened? Because I tend to be jaded. I'd love to be wrong, and my jadedness often does obscure things for me. So that's something I'd love to hear in comments or in chats afterwards. Like, what does online accountability look like? Can an audience hold a creator accountable? And what does that mean? What does it look like if you've seen it go correctly, where somebody really did that? I'm thinking of like the Jenna Marbles video, I guess, where she was like apologizing for like racially charged humor and like darkening her skin in the past. I guess maybe that would be an example. But I think that was her choosing to do that more than an audience making her do that. And I think when people are doing something for a performance of an audience, it almost never is sincere or helps anything. But again, I'd love to be wrong. I'm painting with a pretty broad brush, so I'm sure there's instances that I'm not thinking of here. So there's certainly people who have learned to change their language that they use, and kind of adapted in what they talk about and how they talk about things, and showed learning. The McElroys, I guess, are an example of that too, right? They got a lot of feedback about not using slurs and not being anti-furry and not being homophobic. So I guess you could call that like real online accountability. And that came from willingness on their part and from fans being pretty patient with them. Like, I think it does tend to require that kind of mutual investment in one another, if even symbolically. Marta Rose. Oh, I wanted to shout this one out. Marta Rose talked about how a lot of these pressures to do this badly boundaried stuff is because people are trying to make money. Like, Marta Rose runs Divergent Design Studios, which is a really great like actual community where people make artistic projects together and talk about design and neurodiversity. I sometimes start to feel resentment inside me when people aren't willing to pay for the stuff I have given away for free for years. But then I catch myself and remind myself that they owe me absolutely nothing, and that I gave away what I did freely, even joyfully, and that I only wish I hadn't when I'm literally afraid I can't pay the bills. Marta Rose, if you like my stuff, you've heard me talk about Marta Rose, the Spiral Lab, Divergent Design Studios. She and her partner, Joel, are going through some very serious health issues and costs. They could really use support. So if you like her writing, if you liked the influence that it's had on neurodivergent culture, give her a paid subscription, throw her some money, like join Divergent Design Studios. It's a pretty small like fee to like take these kind of like online classes with other disabled people working on creative projects and stuff like that. And there's like a group chat and stuff like that. Like, the reason a lot of people grow resentful as creators is because they need to pay the bills and they have no other way of doing it. Like, she's disabled, her partner's disabled, they're both sick. And so we get into these patterns not always because we're like craven, but because we're trying to survive. And I say we as disabled people, but to be very clear, like, I am stable. I have a day job. I have book royalties. Like, I'm okay. I don't need anybody to pay for my shit. That's why I can make it free. And that's the agreement that I've been able to make with myself, that I will never, I'm not trying to make more money anymore. I'm okay. the vast majority of disabled people making things online are not like that. So if you want to move your subscription, if for people who are subscribing on here or on Substack, move it on over to Marta Rose's. Like, I'm fine. I don't need it, but there are people who are making wonderful things who really, really need it. And she says, I do cringe with distaste at having to sell stuff like courses and workshops, but I feel extremely proud of the things I am selling, and I know they are changing lives, so I plug my nose and do it. If and when I am ever in a financial position to not need this income, I would 100% do everything I do now, but for free. Alas, earning money makes most of us do things we'd rather not do. Yeah, these things are caused by capitalism more than anything else. Artistic Bum says, one positive example I'm thinking of is Marina posting both sidesy stuff after October 7th, then changing her stance after listening to fans and looking more into it. Yes, I think that is something where I think it's like the zeitgeist has changed too. Like, I don't think it's just, oh, my fans are mad at me and I'm looking more into it. Like, I think, because I've seen people make that change. I think a lot of people's position on Palestine has changed. And I think a lot of people, it wasn't like fan pressure per se. Maybe that was a spark to it, you know, like it certainly didn't hurt her to, you know, it gave her an incentive to look into stuff. But like, if all that somebody cares about is I don't want my fans yelling at me, I don't want to lose my fans, they do not sincerely change. They don't. Like, if that's all people care about, if it's that aspect, people just change what they say or manufacture what they're saying. But there's a difference between that and, oh, I didn't understand this. I'm hearing now that I'm affecting people and I'm really reflecting on it. And some people just do have that capacity to actually still give a shit, you know? And so, you know, it's certainly worth asking, especially like big pop stars with big audiences, to help be part of like what moves that needle. Like, there's so few pop stars that are still pro-Palestine. There's so few celebrities that are still pro-Palestine. It's disgusting. So like that any of them moved away from the immense amount of professional media culture pressure there is to be pro-American empire and pro like Zionist violence and American imperial violence, to like speak out against that. Like, I think that's a real credit also to Marina, that like, and Halsey and like artists like that who have been willing to do that. Because a lot of people, even now when it's alienating their fucking audiences, they won't do that shit. I'll send one more video, but this one is about parasocial relationships and not cancel culture. This video is funny. Thank you, Waluigi, for all the links. Thanks for sharing everything. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that, you know, like, there are times where a creator makes a choice to revisit their positions, and they actually take fan feedback seriously and not just in a how do I cover my ass way. And like, how do we capture why it is that happens versus someone doing just like the fake, I'm just doing it to placate fans thing, where it's just very surface level, you know? Like, I think there's some sincerity from them as well as from how fans are asking that makes that happen. And that's worth doing, you know? And I also don't think that's canceling, right? Like telling Marina, like, no, this is not how Palestine situation is. That's not canceling, right? That's like, is it accountability? I don't know. I think, I'll have to think on that, but I certainly think some of it is people making the choice to say something and then her also making the choice to actually sit with it, which a lot of people don't do. Airgender says, yeah, I feel like accountability needs to be a dialogue or relational, and very rarely is the fan content creator a two-way relationship. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. That usually the nature of that relationship is such that there's no true accountability. There could be consequences. There could be cancellations. There could be loss of fame. And that's cool, you know, whatever, that's a tool. Oh, looks like we got a fun little homophobe in the chat here. Hello. Fagod. Hold on, I'm gonna screenshot that. I'm sorry. Fagod. That's really good, man. That's really cool. I am the fagod. Oh, very funny. Really cool shit. Thank you, Ironclad Fury, for calling me a fagod. I I um I feel like a fag god today. That's wonderful. That's the best you got, honey. All right, I should hydrate myself before my singing lesson. So thank you everybody for being here, for being a part of this conversation. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed everything that people had to add. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for being here. Let me know what you thought about this stream and this format, this live stream format. I'm kind of liking it. I'm kind of having fun. If you like these videos, join the Piscord and come hang out with other disabled queer people. Yeah, let's stay in touch. Story Soup Dumpling. I'm very excited to see your project. Thanks for the parasocial company. What's something that's like not fully parasocial, where you do kind of know each other, but it still has a, I guess, acquaintanceship. Thanks for the digital acquaintanceship. I don't know, whatever we want to call it, but thanks for hanging out and keeping me company as I record these things, you guys. Oomfies. Thanks for oomfieing. Yeah, I think we're oomfies. Yeah, there's a difference between parasocial and oomfies. That's let's talk about that. I don't somebody I don't know what to make of that, but there's a difference between, there's a spectrum from like friend, acquaintance, I don't know, there's somewhere in there. Uh, you can't quite rank order them, but they're all different beautiful flowers. All right, let me set y'all up for a raid. Let's see who's going. Quincy's Tavern is playing Wildgate. Steph Signati is playing World of Warcraft. I love her. Maddie Duvernay is just chilling right now, actually. T-Pain is on day 4 of 75 of no drinking. Let's see. We got some furries, VTubers. What do we want? Where do we want to go? I'll probably send you over to Steph Sanyati. She is a really great YouTuber turned streamer who has had some experiences with parasocial relationships and has set much firmer boundaries. Oh, thank you, Alex Index, for the subs. Just got an official autism diagnosis to placate my dad, and the psych suggested your books, and I was like, I know him. Hello, hi, yes. My when you get to the therapist, it's really a great pyramid scheme because people are evangelizing my books for me. Okay, I'm going to start up this raid. So Steph Sanyati, she's a wonderful trans woman, Canadian YouTuber turned streamer. She used to make a lot of content about being trans and like her personal life and mental health, and it took a real toll on her. And she decided she didn't want to be a like trans activist YouTuber and like made into this symbol of a community anymore. And that it wasn't good for her health. She started when she was like really young at that stuff, and now she streams mostly video games. She does some video game writing as well and like makeup stuff. She's just like a really sweet person and just like somebody whose work I've followed from a long time. Like when I was first transitioning, like her videos on transition were helpful to me. And also she really has set a nice example that like just because you're trans doesn't mean you have to be an activist and be defined by your transness, and like perform like education and patience and sharing your personal story to people all the goddamn time. So and she's a relatively like small-ish, like medium-sized like Twitch account. She's only got 37 viewers right now. So like you know, like she can use some love. Like give her some love. She makes some great shit. She's awesome. She's cool. I've learned a lot from her. The psych is actually really great, ADHD herself, and very understanding of my concerns with diagnosis getting reported. That is amazing. Hopefully she's on the neurodivergent therapist registry. Okay, sending you on over to Steph. Thank you everybody for being here, and I will see y'all next time. Stop.